I don't tolerate hooligans and rowdies. Any cowboy who tries to hoorah this town will not live to regret it.
Oh, boys, we gotta pack up. I think he's referring to us.
Oh boy, well, that's the start of this episode of Cheap Seat Critics Podcast. Welcome, everybody. With me today we have...
Hello, I'm a geeky writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
I'm a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks, and today we're covering the Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again, which, if you listened to last week's episode, you know that's kind of the theme of this season, is going with sequels. But only one, only movies that had one sequel afterward.
And usually it's pretty obvious why.
Usually, yes.
Then they get the axe.
You're gonna get the fire stick.
So I'll start us off with their socials that we have. If you'd like to follow and look for any updates that we do have, we have a LetterBox if you're interested in that, which is averaging scores after every one of what we've covered. We also we're at youtube.com if you want to see, well, youtube.com/@cheapseatcritics if you want to see our PNG tubers and visual side of things with a slideshow we do. We are also at Instagram and TikTok under @CheapSeatCritics, but if you change the N to an X, so CRIX, that is our Twitter or X handle now. I guess we were ahead of the time with that. And we're also Cheap Seat Critics Podcast over on Facebook.
Yeah.
So, this movie.
This movie
It
happened.
was a movie, I think by definition, at least.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say it wasn't a movie, but I wouldn't say it was not a movie.
Well, it had to go hand in hand with the choice of the season, even though I was excited to show the first film and glad how that went. This
You
one
weren't
was hand in hand
excited for
in one.
this?
This one had to go hand in hand with it, Crimson.
Yeah,
So I do have some facts.
He acquiesced.
Yes, the initial release date of the film was June 27th, 1979, which is 4 years after, or roughly a little over 4 years after the last film. Its runtime is 1 hour and 28 minutes, or 88 minutes total. Again, I could not find the budget for this film, but I did find the box office, which is estimately to be $20,931,111 USD.
$1 million less than the first one. Roughly.
Shocker. The rating for the film is G. Its genre follows under Western comedy and family, and it is directed by Vincent McGeevety.
Cool.
Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Who has done things such as Gus, Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, and an episode of Columbo, season 10, episode 9, titled Undercover.
All the hits. All the big ones.
Yes.
And
if you can't believe it, not many fun facts I could find about this film.
Yeah, this movie was fun.
It's pretty obscure. That's fair.
Yeah, a little. So the first one I have here is the third and final of three theatrical released films, collaborations of actor Don Knotts and director Vincent McGeevety. The movies in order are Gus, which was 1976, Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo in 1977, and Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again in 1979. All of these flicks were from Walt Disney Pictures Movie Studio. Second fact I have is Disney's marketing department added a small sticker to the film's poster saying all new, possibly due to the fact that people thought this was just a re-release, which Disney company was well known for during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Of the original film, The Apple Dumpling Gang from 1975, posters exist both with and without the sticker.
Interesting. Yeah.
Before I get into my next fact,
freaking title.
Before I get into my next fact, please take all these with a grain of salt. Who knows how much they are true or false? I took them all off the internet.
I trust the internet.
Next fun fact I have here is Don Knotts and Tim Conway may be a comedic duo in film, but did you know that Tim Conway and Ernest Borgnine, who played Stanislaus Kaczynski from All Quiet on the Western Front of 1979, a film that we have covered, were an elderly aquatic duo.
Huh?
Elderly aquatic.
Blew my mind when I found this out.
Can you... obviously, we all know what you mean, but what's an elderly aquatic duo?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. An elderly aquatic duo, They're as Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy from SpongeBob SquarePants.
Wow. Where was that
Wow.
fact? On All Quiet on the Western Front, huh?
I don't know. Where was this fact on the first Apple Dumpling Gang?
I don't know. Well, he was Ernest Borgnine wasn't in the first one.
He wasn't in either of these.
Well, why is he brought up in this then?
It's
He's
a
covered
Tim
in it.
Conway fact.
Oh yeah, the famous Tim Conway.
And then lastly, here I have a quote from Gary Arnold of the Washington Post, who dismissed this film as the latest uninspired attempt at juvenile comedy from the Disney studio.
Thumbs up to that guy.
I landed on a correct opinion, I guess. I don't know. I haven't seen his other reviews.
And those are all the facts I have, which will then lead us into history. History, let's start with Sinister. What is your history of this film?
I didn't even know this existed until a couple months ago. I guess I don't really. I wasn't big on the original, and shockingly, this one also escaped me. I think you referenced slightly that this was different than the first one, so it was. That is true. This is much. I guess, ironically, this is more of what I would have wanted in the first one, and I don't know if this is what I wanted actually.
What you got? Yeah.
Well, you wished for this.
I did.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah. So, now that
Yeah.
you've had your wish fulfilled, how does it feel?
Hollow, like most wishes fulfilled.
That's a great answer to that.
Yeah.
All right, then we'll go with the writer and his history, if any.
All right. Yeah, no, it's a very long, lustrous history. I watched it 2 days ago, and some of it yesterday. There we go. That's my history. I didn't know this was existed until we were doing a sequels planning thing, like movies with just one sequel, and then this came up because that was it. That was my only history with it.
Well, we talked about in the last one of the Apple Dumpling Gang when we covered that this was a name you knew through history that was titled as a posse name in Red Dead Redemption 2 Online. And you thought it was just made up on the spot until you realized that was a movie.
Yeah, and I didn't know that movie had a sequel up, and until this
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And I guess since we kind of dug into Sinister just a little bit about what he wanted or from the film, or what we wanted, I was really afraid that Disney would take away the wrong lesson for our comedic duo from the first one, because it's more balanced in the first one with the two of them and all the other stories going on. Not balanced in this one at all. It's just them.
That's what people wanted. More Theodore and Amos. Well, with that, we'll go into Crimson's history.
All right. Like I mentioned in the first movie, I watched the first one a few times in my childhood. At the time, did not know there was a sequel. Knowing Sprinks through the years, it was dropped at some point. I don't remember when that there was a sequel. It was not for this. It was earlier. So I knew of it for a while. Then we came up with this season idea, and he threw this in the ring, and I was excited because, wow, it's the one I haven't seen and didn't really need to see, and now I've seen it. And
Was
I
it
wish I
everything you
had.
hoped for?
That's pretty much it. I watched it once for the podcast.
Oh boy. I guess we'll go with me last here. This is the second time I've seen this film. I really like the first one. I've seen the first one numerous amount of times. This one I distinctly remember only watching once, but it was a long, long time ago. So I was always kind of questioning myself, why did I only see it once? Why didn't I get pulled more into it? Watch it again for the pod. I know completely why.
You understand now.
Oh, yeah. Jan Sprinks was correct. Well, that's our history. That's our facts. That's our intro. We are going to go straight into the film here. Our structure today is we're going to do a 3-act structure. We're going from the beginning to Theodore and Amos leaving Junction City. We are then going from leaving Junction City to being shipped off to prison. And then we're going from there to the end of the film. And we can do it linearly. You can popcorn if you wish. But let us start with Ryder on this film.
All right. So, I guess I kind of like the credit opening. And I know I'm praising credits. I'm reaching here.
Yeah.
But it was
just a little bit.
But one of the things I guess I quite liked about it is it felt very, very good. It was a very good mood setting, even though it's Theodore and Amos just wandering the desert pretty much. And then we go from that to the fucking dead of night with a wagon on fire.
It's a bit of a frightening tone shift.
It's a bit of a frightening tone shift, first off. And second off, I don't know why the robbers didn't take the horses. Like, those are valuable too.
Yeah.
And also, this is like the middle of nowhere. They have no power. And it's the dead of night. That wagon got awfully close to the fort before someone sounded an alarm. So, there's alright, we had a few missteps here.
Well, I mean, tack on to this wagon, but you could see somebody playing with the reins, with the horse's reins, when it was entering through the doorway.
Just a little break.
No brakes.
No brakes. Well, that obviously that wagon didn't have any brakes.
Correct.
But you do know that the fort can withstand anything.
Yeah. Anything except two idiots and a marshal.
Well,
17 assaults, 4 sieges, plague, drought, the blizzard of 68, and an outbreak of acute dysentery.
Yeah, I'm curious.
So they're fine.
I'm curious what this. I know it's a fictional fort, but I'm curious where it was supposed to be placed.
Yeah, I don't really know. Well, it was obviously in Indian territory, so it was probably like the Midwest area or something.
Because I don't think it's California. I think we're a little east of California. If it is California, we're in the Mojave, kinda, you know.
I found that this film was filmed in both California and Utah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because a lot of Utah has a lot of the canyon kind of looking. Utah has a lot of the good Midwestern looking places.
Yeah.
But
part of the Midwest.
Their uniforms they look like, well, I mean, they're not accurate, but they're close enough that I kind of just wrote it off.
Yeah, I mean, I could get the feeling.
Yeah, I know what they're going for the kind of Union blue post Civil War.
They look more like Rangers. That was my complaint.
Yeah,
they don't really look like soldiers. They look like Rangers. Not that they're that dissimilar, but you know.
Yeah, but I kind of wrote it off. There are some differences, obviously, but I think they're passable.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the first one of the things that did well in the first one was, I think, the costumes, and I think in this did pretty well as well.
That's for most of the budget that we don't know what went.
All the fires and explosions went on this one.
Oh yeah, I was trying to see if there was going to be a fun fact about like the explosion. Like they only had one shot to do it.
Turns out 2 crew members died in that explosion. I mean,
it never would have come out then.
A fact I couldn't find.
Well, that's not true. Movies where crew members die come out all the time.
Yeah, but this is Disney.
It's a Disney film.
Yeah.
Resident Evil, The Final Chapter,
Crimson,
Twilight Zone movie.
Crimson, you got to keep in mind, not a single person has ever died in Disneyland. Ever.
Yeah, that's like what they're famous for. Yeah. It's a Small World ride, never a fatality. You can believe that.
Never. Same goes for Disney World or any other Disney theme park.
Pretty much Disney in general. Nobody's ever died at Disney.
No, people don't die.
People don't die at Disney. It's a very weird fact, but it's a fact nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna.
Off of that little tangent.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they do cover Dusty and Donovan and the kids just a little bit.
Even if it's like in the cheapest writer way possible.
It is the laziest way I think they could have done it. Is there a worse way they could have done that?
What about not doing it at all?
Well,
I mean,
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
would-
of doing it.
I
Is
think-
there any way they could have done it poorly?
poorlier. Yeah.
I think-
Mr. said the kids would have loved this, and that's it.
I kind of just wrote it off, to be honest. Mostly because like I didn't get the
You and
impression.
the rest of the world.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression that we were going to go back and visit Donovan or the kids. So for
yeah.
me, I realized that was the best we were going to get.
You didn't think they were going to be in the sequel?
No, not at all.
Well, after the fact from the first film saying that it was the last film to feature, was it Bill?
I think so. Yeah.
Bill Bixby, yeah. Last cinema film of Bill Bixby was the last one.
Oh.
The actor for Donovan.
Well, they could have just replaced him. It's not like this was back in a time where you could just replace an actor and it wouldn't really be a big thing up until upon reevaluation.
Sinister, that could have been a thing, but being that they reused an actor for a different role,
I hated that.
So
I didn't know until the end of the movie that wasn't him. I looked it up afterwards. I'm like, is that him or not? I'm confused.
That's Harry.
Same
the
actor, different
Harry
character.
Morgan. That is not Sheriff McCoy.
No,
Oh, yeah,
I had it
okay.
in my notes. Why doesn't he recognize them?
yeah,
Because he's not wearing glasses and have a mustache.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if the commandant was the sheriff. And
He is.
He is. Okay. Yeah, I wrote that down in my notes. I'm like, is he?
It's the actor, not the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a good job, like differentiating the two characters, but
I mean, he's funnier. I mean, I think he's a better character overall in the first one, but
Yeah.
I think I like him in this kind of more serious thing. I think he works really well too in that way, but he's definitely better in the first one.
yeah, in this one, he's definitely a more weighted counterbalance to Theodore and Amos.
But he doesn't cover his voice, change his voice at all.
What I don't.
He talks to them directly.
That's
Yeah, you're talking like he had a choice in the matter. Like, listen, you have to you can't not do this, okay? I don't know.
I just question the choice of having him play that role.
They probably just liked him. They probably just thought he was a good actor, and they were like, "Hey, we got another movie. Do you want to, do something?" And they were like, "Listen, we're going to be in a different area, so you can't really be the same character, but we'd love to have you."
I'm
I don't know
fine.
why it couldn't be the
Cool.
same character. Yeah.
I think it would be cooler if the end, if like on the train, it was Sheriff McCoy. He just like appears. That way he's still in the movie if it's like a legal reason or something.
Wouldn't that have like ruined most of the character in the first one though? Because he's like the sheriff, he's the judge, he's the barber. So then he leaves, and then there's literally no infrastructure or anything in the town now.
Just
someone else would
said
take the
some random-
job.
Yeah, he could have said something. He's like, "Oh, I had to come visit the annual sheriff's meeting in Buffalo Springs or something."
That sounds way worse than just not having him. If I'm going to be honest with you right now, that sounds so lazy.
Well, like the writing of Donovan and the kid, like just not having it, I think would be worse. But if he has to be in the movie, I think if he has to be in the movie, make him play the character from the last one.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he finds out his daughter's dating a guy at a fort, and he wants to keep an eye on his daughter, so he relocates to the fort.
And works his way up the ranks to commander.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's something they could have done.
I feel like that's a bigger complaint than it should be. I don't know. That's my take.
I
Just having the same
had to look
actor,
it up.
You had to look at it, so you didn't realize. You didn't realize. That's because he's a fucking actor. You didn't realize he was the same guy.
Oh, Crimson didn't realize it was a different character.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I knew it was the same actor. I thought
okay.
I couldn't tell if it was a different character or not.
I didn't realize he was.
You didn't know that the name was different and that the demeanor
Those
was
can
different.
change.
He's not the same character then if the name changes.
No, I mean like legally change. You can legally change names.
I feel like you made a big, huge story of this. Of like,
Or if he got married.
He went. Yeah, he took the last name because he's just that kind of
Or
guy.
the lady's last name.
Yeah.
Or the guy's last name. Either or.
Well, this is Wild West, so let's
Time
be
period,
realistic here.
Theodore and Amos share the same blanket.
Yeah,
Not on this one.
yeah. Not in this one. They have two separate blankets, which is a very weird plot point towards the end of this movie that I had to rewatch to figure out what was going on. But I don't have a problem with him being the same actor, just playing a different role. I think that's fine. Because I literally didn't make that connection.
I think it would have been better if he never had an interaction with Theodore and Amos.
If he never existed, I think you're right. Yeah.
No, not that. If he's in the film as a different character, but he doesn't interact with characters that know the very similar other one from the first film of the sheriff.
Mm.
I come from the land of TV, so I've seen actors play different characters in the same show. This didn't bother me all that much, to be honest. I think he did a good enough job to differentiate what the sheriff was like and the commandant was like. I don't have any issue.
Commandante. Yeah, same. I was like, he did a good job either way. I don't really need him to be the same character. It would. I mean, there is a way he could have been, and I'll admit that, but I don't think he needs to be the exact same character. We do enjoy the movie.
I'm trying to think of something that would have been weird, like an example. Like if after, let's just say hypothetically, like after watching Avengers,
okay,
and then they come out with Doctor Strange, and Mark Ruffalo's playing Doctor Strange. Would that not be weird?
That's not at all the same thing. That's not at all the same thing, though.
Because it's a main character and not side?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what if he was... Okay, Mark Ruffalo's playing the bad guy, Mads Mikkelsen's character.
I mean, one could argue bad guys are also main characters.
No. I think here's the other thing. You're
Mark
also
Ruffalo's playing a member of Ant-Man's heist crew.
Sure, there you go. That's a better example. Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
Depends on
how weird.
You know what the big difference though in between that and this is though?
What?
Is that this guy's not really like an established actor technically anymore, so it doesn't seem that weird. He's not the
importance of an actor.
Yeah, because it's like, obviously it's the same guy, but let's think the character actors and everything, they're really fucking amazing actors, but you could technically, like, if you had, I don't know, Ernest Borgnine in one movie as a character and then changed him to a different character in the next one, like, are you gonna be like, how did he do that? Why?
If it's the same,
I mean, obviously you are. This is a fucking stupid argument. There's no way I'm gonna win. There's no way you're gonna win because I don't care.
No winning. There's no winning. It's just getting.
Well, then that's not an argument. Then
Who said we're having an argument?
Well, when you kept bringing up the different opinions,
I'm saying you said it was extremely easy for you to know. Oh, okay, same actor, but totally fine. As for Crimson, the very end of the film, he goes, "Oh, I had to look it up."
Yeah,
like two polar opposites here.
It's not because he has a problem. That's fair. It's his personal opinion. I have mine. But that's, at the end of the day, I'm not going to change mine because I don't have a problem with it in this situation.
And that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like I'm kind of similar to Sinister in the way that like Jeffrey Combs plays like 5 different characters in Star Trek, and usually I don't care because he's a good actor, and some of those characters are hidden behind like alien makeup, which helps. But other than that, I think I'm fine with an actor returning to play a different character in like the same universe or whatever.
I think my big thing, because I'm like you, writer. I watch a lot of TV. I see that it happen a lot. But typically with those examples, they're pretty distinguishable. In this, he is a like military-ish guy, right? I mean, sheriff.
Military guy.
I don't really know what to classify.
Yeah, he's.
They're similar characters. Just one's more funny than the other.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree with that. I would have probably tried to distinguish them a bit more. I agree with that.
But like, if we had the sheriff, and then here he was like a janitor or something. I don't know, something wildly different to distinguish them, other than something that could have been pursued that he got promoted.
I just don't see his like sheriff character having much of a point in this version, because a lot of the humor he derived in the first movie is based on him being an authority and him kind of having his way, or in this he would be totally out of the water, and it would be, I think he would lose a lot of that. So probably they probably like, listen, we love you as an actor, your character is just not going to really work in the same way in this one, but we'd like to still have you and use you in some way. And he was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm not saying I want the sheriff back here. It's just, I wish the character who they gave him was more different than the sheriff.
Well, that's a totally different thing, I guess. But yeah,
something that distinguishes his two characters more, because they're very similar.
Like I said, I wasn't sure, and like I said, I didn't know it was the same actor halfway through, because I think they did enough, at least at first. Which is, he's not wearing the sheriff glasses. He's in an entirely different outfit. His hair is done differently. I think that was enough for at least me to buy it for the first half of the film. Because like I said, I didn't realize if they were the same actor until halfway through. But then again, I'm not really looking at actors. I'm looking at the writing. So
yeah,
that might just be me. So
it's like I wish the actor had better materials. It's a very after the fact thing, I think. So, yeah.
But I'm in agreement, Crimson. I do wish there was more to distinguish the two different roles. I would like to have seen him, get the chance to flex his acting chops a bit. On that note, I think something that bothered me is the commandant says that a bunch of supplies are being stolen en route to the fort. It's happening often enough that I'm pretty sure that Washington would have stopped sending those supplies.
I mean, they did send someone to apprehend.
Yeah, they did send military intelligence.
So they didn't do nothing,
which helps. But I still think they would have done a little bit more than just send one person.
Are they reporting to Washington that they're being stolen?
They sent two.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that's why they sent. That's why they sent Reed over and his buddy. I forgot what his higher ranking buddy was. Yeah. What his name was. The one that delivered the dead guy.
So I mean,
the trapper.
Yeah, it helps that it helps that they did send military intelligence for sure. Mm-hmm. I think I was just expecting. I think they would have done a little bit more to help, considering how much supplies are being stolen.
I think they would have lessened the amount of supply, like less valuable supplies.
Yeah.
Because it would be easier to track them if they catch them in the act. But obviously you wouldn't want to send all your valuables to get taken.
Yeah. I mean, they would have tested different methods and things of that nature as well. Like, different routes, different, different types of escorts and stuff like that. Because... like I said, it was broaching a point where the commandant's going to get fired. So it sounded like they weren't doing enough, kind of. At least I mean, like the fort was doing all they could, but we find out, the insider of the fort is in on it. But it's, I was kind of expecting more, I guess, from that to develop.
Yeah. Somewhere. I was a little disappointed that it was so underdeveloped in the story. What they just kind of ran into this movie. I don't really know how much overall they were really staking into this.
Yeah, especially with no budget, I don't really know.
Yeah.
What they put behind it.
Oh, I'm sure they put a lot behind it. But
especially the train. They put some effort behind that stuff. Sprinks, you haven't really posed any points yet.
Oh, for me to do a point?
Yeah, do a point. Do a big point.
I think it was certainly fabricated. The turn, somewhat introduction of Millie Gaskill. Yes. Yeah. It was very much like Rita Hayworth.
I don't even think it was that good.
It wasn't that good, but it's along those lines of a female introduction.
Yeah.
Kind of the eye catcher moment.
I the second one. I think it's slightly different problems, but I think they're coming from the same place, and that I don't think they really knew where the story needed to be. Because we have pretty much the same A and B plot, they just swapped for which is which. Being that now the A plot is, Amos and Theodore, and the B plot is kind of this pseudo-romance thing. And I don't think either is better for having the other one in there. I don't know. I don't think the romance thing does any damage to Amos and Theodore. If only that it kind of cajoles them to having to follow a path that makes a little bit less sense than otherwise. That's about the only thing I could probably say. But I also feel like there's really no place, because it wants so bad to be like a slapstick, stupid comedy thing, and then you have this romance thrown in there that just makes it seem like I don't like there's too it's too much to focus on.
It feels like it feels like it's an added. They intended to be a counterweight to Theodore and Amos doing all this,
and I mean
this side plot serious stuff.
Yeah,
the problem is it's just the side plot serious stuff is just it's
not good.
Yeah, it has a lot of ups and downs in its quality, because there are times where it almost gets good, and there are times where it's just dips down really badly.
Yeah, there's some small good moments, but
because I think the overall reveal that that Jeff is a captain and he's working for Millenniums. I think that the reveal for him later on is done really well, but I think a lot of the romantic side plot attached to him is kind of underwhelming. I don't really understand it because we don't spend enough time with them to kind of develop it.
It's weird. It's a kidnap. That's what it is. He kidnaps because he loves her.
Stockholm Syndrome. What are you talking about?
That's what he's trying to get across to her.
Listen, I'm only being mean and kidnapping you because I love you, all right? And
he doesn't even say it to her. The blind woman does.
I can't tell if that's really good blind acting or really bad blind acting.
I think it's really bad blind acting.
Because they didn't even put context in, so she has milky eyes.
I don't know. I liked all the 9 close-ups they did of her.
I think what makes this B plot worse is the first film had interaction of both plots with both characters. Like Theodore and Amos were trying to get up on Donovan kind of a couple times throughout the film, and then they discuss Dusty and Donovan talking about them and where they came from and everything. There's interaction between the two. In this one, there's nothing till the end of the film.
Yeah, the closest that they get is Theodore and Amos being indirectly responsible for getting military intelligence out of the fort.
Yeah. And even so, they don't.
They don't meet. I agree.
They also used them to get into the fort as well.
Yeah, that was a whole fucking thing.
But that's still not meeting.
No,
it's being close to each other, but
and he didn't. Yeah, didn't recognize them. He was just like, "Oh, hey, you're the guys who got court-martialed or whatever." They should be so lucky to get court-martialed.
They were lucky to get court-martialed. Yeah, I think they would have.
Oh, they didn't get court-martialed, but they would have been lucky if they got court-martialed. Actually, no, they did, didn't they?
They got court-martialed and sentenced to prison.
Okay. I thought that was like a minor offense thing, and not because what they did was major.
Oh yeah, no, they were sentenced to prison for 30 years. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think our military would have tolerated that. That was very tolerant of them, but
yeah, they would have just killed them. Wild West times.
Oh yeah, they were torturing them.
Take that up with the Geneva Convention. Yeah.
I mean, they were gonna let them dehydrate. That is a form of torture.
Yeah, that is.
I'm fine to live with that.
That's true. Yeah. They could have died if they didn't drink water that day before.
They could have died if, they just let Wooly do whatever Wooly wanted to do.
I mean, honestly,
Wooly could shoot like they said he could.
Well, he's got like 3 repeat injuries. Come on.
No, that's one of the biggest things I have with this film is the boy says Billy Hitchcock is like the fastest shooting gun in the West or whatever, and has this big name, and he's this big credited somebody, And every single time he has a gun on someone, it's so slow and hesitant. I think it's false valor, and he has no credit to his name.
Valor.
I
Well,
think it's fake. I think he's a Gilderoy Lockhart type character.
He seems pretty legit.
I wouldn't go that far. Though you also got to remember, because I think they kind of touch on this later on, when Amos and Theodore are in prison, is that your name kind of carries a lot of weight, and so even if you're like, let's say he's a lot slower than he was when he became sheriff, or when he was doing a lot of gunslinging and stuff, he still has the name, and the name still means something. And that works in his favor more often than if he's really good, because they're automatically going to be afraid.
It works in Junction City. That's
obviously.
It doesn't even work. It doesn't even work entirely in Junction City, because the old lady cheers when he gets beaten.
That's because he's an ass.
She's got some vendetta on him.
Which is why I kind of like your Gilderoy Lockhart theory. There's nothing in the film itself to support that, other than the old lady being really happy that he's finally met his comeuppance.
I don't think that means he's not good. That just means he's an asshole.
No one recognizes him in Buffalo Springs, or even at the fort. No one knows him.
Well, yeah.
They call him the marshal.
Well,
he's a marshal because he comes to the party and says he's a marshal.
Yeah. You don't know how they acted when he entered the fort.
Yeah, but they don't know him, and they go, "Oh, that's Billy Hitchcock, fastest gun in the West." There's no name to him.
Well, there could be a name, but they just don't know what he looks like. I mean, it's
the Wild West.
They bring up their phones, and check up on people.
Like in the first film with Stillwell, like they know the name but don't know what they look like.
Yeah, that was a very common thing in the Wild West. Yeah. Because, everybody would just hear about what Billy the Kid did, and nobody would know who the fuck he looked like, but it's more likely that they won't know him than him not just having...
Okay, that works. Yeah. That works better, I'll say. It helps a little.
I think he's just a prime example of sacrificing character for comedy.
Yeah. I agree, yeah.
He's a very good physical comedian, though. I'll give him that. I love that guy. That guy's
he was my favorite character in this. So
that guy's
I enjoyed his performance.
Awesome. He's in that and something else too. But he's Young Frankenstein too. 2 Mel Brooks movies. But yes, definitely sacrifice the character for comedic value. But at least the bits are, I think they hit more often than they don't, pun intended. But
yeah, I think they did a good job introducing his character with the bar fight. His little cool walk just to take care of the situation, pistol whip him, drag him off. The girls love him. Everybody loves him except the old lady. It was just I really liked his introduction.
And then they just slowly ruined him as Amos and Theodore made him go crazy.
It ruined his character, but not the enjoyment of him. At least for me personally, I enjoyed him when he was on screen.
It was good. Good hammy actor.
It was kind of funny to watch his character degrade. I guess I got some sadistic enjoyment out of that.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of like the it's a similar... I'm trying to think. There's a couple examples of that, of just slowly, just the character just getting destroyed. Can't think of any off the top of my head right now, but I like that little trope. It's a good little trope.
It's the Joker, just comedic.
Yeah, Joker, but actually funny. Yeah.
I haven't really thought about it. I don't know if I would call it character assassination to the extent that you do, Crimson, or if you or you say ruin his character. I guess those are the words you used. I don't know if I agree with that, but I don't know. I guess his degradation made sense to me because you couldn't catch 2 idiots.
Yeah.
They just happened to keep
getting
the better of him.
Yeah. Well, it's like they get the better of him, but it's not because they're better. They just have like this blind luck.
Yeah, I don't know what.
I think that's this film has nothing but dumb luck.
Well, yeah, emphasis on the dumb and emphasis on the luck.
Yeah, because I have. We'll get to that. Never mind. I'll save that for later.
So Theodore and Amos come into Junction City to get new
Do they?
clothes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then to take a photo.
Yes.
For the outfits they're wearing, I think those are pretty cheap. Because it costs them $70.
Something like that.
So that's about $35 each, roughly.
Went to an outlet store, I guess.
I do like the detail, though, that I was questioning where their old clothes go, and then it brings up that they were just thrown away.
And they dig for them because they ruined their new look almost immediately by getting caught in a place where they shouldn't be.
Did you believe that, like,
disguise in Hitman?
Yeah. Did you, believe that situation at all? Like, when they get caught robbing the bank, would that actually happen?
What do you mean?
I think he was the lady saying that they rode off that direction. I think he would have listened to the witness, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, especially since they started shooting people in town, I think he would have just immediately gone off to chase after them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely felt like, obviously for comedic effect, false identity and everything, but I was like, it just seems like it's like there's definitely a way to like talk yourself out of it, and they had the receipt and everything, I was like waiting for them to use that, and that didn't happen. So that was just a bit. That was just a comedic bit right there.
I do like the idea of it, though. Trying to go clean, they keep it set up.
I like it.
Situation.
I think there's just a more logical or a more a more a more way that you could do it. A believable way, yes, where it wouldn't just kind of break all forms of logic. But then I didn't write this movie, so what do I know?
And then they somehow climbed on the bank, tied a rope, went across the street, tied all the money bags to a rope, and swung it across.
That physics worked completely well.
Yeah, a good thing the distance between buildings is the same length from the top of the building to the window.
It works. What? It works.
It worked. Somehow. The distance looked further apart than the height of the building, which means he would have just landed on the ground instead of swinging across the street.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting him to just kind of plop onto the ground, and that was going to be the joke. But no, it worked.
I like how they had him just get destroyed by a bag of money. They don't.
Yeah, he got hit good.
He got hit cock.
Do you have more?
Oh, wait, go ahead. Amos calls themselves the Apple Dumpling Gang, so they kept the name.
And they fixed the complaint I was going to have.
They're not the half-night outfit, or half-knife outfit, whatever they call themselves. Hash-knife.
Hash-knife gang.
As a duo.
Mm. They fixed the problem we had in the first one, that the movie was called Apple Dumpling Gang, and nobody ever said Apple Dumpling Gang until
they
the very
did.
End.
I already talked about that.
Yeah, it doesn't count though, because they were throughout the whole movie. Nobody was the Apple Dumpling Gang.
There doesn't need to be an Apple Dumpling Gang.
Not true.
But they already. But there is
one.
Why
call the movie Apple Dumpling Gang? It should just be fucking Bill Bixby's Wild West Extravaganza or something.
I said this in the first film.
You did. I'm disagreeing with you. You said that the song did, and the song is the only.
No, the characters. The characters actually said that. That was a thing. They
whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't catch it, and we're in the second one now, so it doesn't count anymore now.
Theodore and Amos adopted the name at the end, which is now in this film they're starting with. Which also means that everything they do. Well, everything they're doing in this movie, they're putting under the name the Apple Dumpling Gang, which then would connect it to Dusty, Donovan, and the kids.
Well, no one else referred to them as the Apple Dumpling Gang.
Yeah, true.
Well, the children.
Yeah, but who cares about a bunch of kids? One of them couldn't even go to the bathroom by themselves.
One of the jokes that because the diving across the street with the rope, that sort of worked for me as a joke. the fixing the broken table pot as they were trying to leave the bank did not work for me.
No, I like that. I like that.
I'm sure you did. It didn't work because it's purely there.
It didn't work. It didn't work. That's why I like it. I liked it because it didn't work. It was stupid, and I loved it.
The only reason it's there is just to keep them there.
Yeah,
if they just walked out like nothing happened, nothing would have happened.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No.
Because they have their banknote that even though their money was stolen.
I'll say something they walked out of when Amos walked out of the thing in the photo. It wasn't attached to him.
I didn't really understand that whole photo booth thing, honestly.
Well, they wanted to be famous. Wanted a photo
in the history books.
Oh yeah, in the history books, yeah.
Also, it would take longer than that for that photo to have been taken.
Yes, it would have.
Yep.
Way longer.
If anybody's seen, a Wild West movie, and I think somebody here has, it takes way longer.
Yeah, I've seen Apple Dumpling Gang rides again.
Bingo.
Just gonna let that one just go. It's gonna fall into the ether, and it's gone. All right.
Clarice the Bloodhound walks in on him. Magic Donkey.
Yeah, that was a dumb. I didn't like that at all.
It's not a magic. It's not a magic donkey. It's a MacGuffin donkey. All right.
Donkey. It's a donkey.
Very important donkey. Without the donkey, the movie would be pretty different.
Yeah, Clarice. Way bigger role in this one.
Yep.
Clarice.
Did you ever bother to look at the other one to see if they got a similar donkey or not, though?
This is a male donkey. I think it was a male donkey, which was really weird.
That's a little bit of the funnier thing, I think, of this film, is that it's clearly a male donkey, but they refer to it as a her.
Yeah.
I think it's fine if the name's Clarice and still...
You didn't bother looking?
Like a Kevin situation from Up. But
I don't know, there's only really one scene, I think, where you can look without actually having to look for it, and I think it's like towards the end when they're walking away. Like they... Oh, it's when they're dressed up or whatever, and they're walking away from the saloon. It's pretty easy to notice it without trying.
Right before the two guys fall out a window with an amazing fake punch.
Yeah, the choreography in this not so good. Not so good. Better than the first one. Not so good in this one.
I will say, I think it was a bad joke, or just not a great thing to do, of when Willie Bill is giving his kind of little monologue, the quote that Crimson say at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the bumbling drunk behind him. It's just a cut in between his words. I think that takes a seriousness of the tension away from what he's saying.
I didn't even catch that. I don't think it's the biggest problem in this movie, but it is a problem.
Drunk?
It just didn't make him come out as threatening or tough.
Yeah, they have a drunk guy that's just wandering around the town.
Yeah, he comes up twice, and he's really funny. He's fat. It's hilarious.
The one where he's swinging back and forth, that guy?
Yeah, he's like, oh.
He's in overalls.
Guess I didn't see him during that part.
I can't believe you didn't. They really focused on him.
I might have been writing notes. I didn't see him there.
It was just weird that an introduction to this tough, martial character is just cut to a bumbling idiot in what he's saying.
That seems to be the whole Apple Dumpling Gang trilogy. They're gonna have a
third
show.
One?
Yeah, they're gonna have a show. Don't you know?
Nope.
The Disney's gonna reboot this. Like they do everything.
Oh, that's true.
Eventually,
I didn't think about that. That's not a lie. We might get that one day.
Oh boy.
They go along to all their properties.
Oh boy.
Jeff / Captain Phillips has a lot of patience in dealing with this complaining. I literally call her complaining girl.
I wouldn't.
In my notes.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Oh, Millie, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know her name for the first half of the film, so I just call her complaining girl for a while.
I just had her as Miss Gaskill.
I just had her as that lady.
Oh, well.
I guess go.
I didn't know. It feels weird. It was played off as a joke, but when she falls over and dirties her dress, and then she seems like the biggest thing is getting mud on her dress. Like that's the number one problem in her world right now going on. And then she falls forward.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. I know it's played as a joke, but that seems not. I couldn't believe that she's so emotionally distressed that she'd lose her balance when her main focus right now is on the dress.
She was in mud, right?
Mud.
Presumably she's in heels. That's not going to work out very well. I'm fine with her tripping and falling forward.
I certainly think it's possible.
I don't know if it was possible, but it did make me laugh, and I think in this movie that's a bit more important.
And I think one of the reasons I actually think, despite a lot of the weird things they do with Captain Phillips, I think he ended up walking away with one of my favorite characters because I think he does the most relatable thing in this scene. He just smiles and hides his laughter when she, face plants into the mud, which is totally a relatable thing considering how badly she's been treating him. And, calling him a private, needs to be an officer to come and escort me. And he's dealing with all this, like, as best as a professional can.
Professional, yeah.
So
the man is professional.
Yeah. So I think I was endeared to Phillips just a little bit with that small smile that he had, like amused at her predicament.
I agree. I enjoyed it. Audience, what did you think?
A joke I smelled at was
Joke you smelled
Amos. Yeah, I didn't laugh at anything. I smiled. I cracked a smile at Amos asking for a recipe.
Is that a receipt?
Oh yeah, the receipt. Yeah, that was. I was like, did he actually say that wrong on purpose, or was that an accident?
I mean, if you're dyslexic and you see both words next to each other, I would forgive you for pronouncing it one way or the other.
I dare you to find the difference if you're dyslexic and they're right next to you. Dare you.
But yeah, I agree. That got a small smile out of me as well.
You think they would use a bank? Theodore and Amos?
They're trying to get clean.
Yeah, they're doing, like, it's kind of like freaking when, I don't know, like somebody's like pretending to be something that they're not or whatever. Like they're just doing whatever like a stereotypical thing would be, right? So like, oh, where do people keep their money when they're not like robbing banks or something? Oh, in the bank, because obviously it's not going to get robbed. So it made sense to me that they would just try to do that, even if it was like not something they would normally do. But just going hyper the other way, they're opposing themselves. Doesn't that make sense?
Lucky that when Theodore was tearing about the bank looking for, money to pull out his funds again, that he didn't find the hostages in the back. Because that would have sorted the whole thing out.
A lot of conveniences in this movie.
No, they decided to focus more on the table and fern joke.
I still like it. I it's going to be my unpopular opinion for this, but I still like it.
Yep.
That lady, though, the lady who has a thing against Willie Bell. I wrote in my notes. She has quite a Joker chin.
I thought it was a man.
I went Wicked Old Witch.
I was going to say very masculine face. I couldn't tell until she spoke.
I went Wicked Old Witch from.
Oh yeah, I bet. She had a little more pointy nose, but
yeah, she had the pointed chin,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give the Crimson Chin a run for his money.
Crimson Chin. My cousin.
But yeah,
also the two of them, not great shots, but she does have a very small little pea shooter. I don't know if it's a Derriner or whatever you called it from the last one. Derringer, that's it. But I feel like if the thieves were actually, I guess it was a warning shot to shoot at her.
I don't know. It definitely should have hit her if they were aiming for her. I don't know if they were.
Obviously, this is Disney. She didn't get killed. But legitimately, if they had killed her, I think that would have made the situation feel a little bit more dire.
I think so.
Yeah.
Being the fact that they're trying to be all, stealthy about it, and they decide to pull out a gun.
Well, to be fair, she screamed at them, so...
That's true.
And she pulled a gun first. So
Bank robbery. Bank robbery.
Bank robbery.
No, it was the other way. She started just screaming help, and they pulled the gun on her. Fired, and then she pulled out hers.
Yeah, she was like the only one in town who seemed to care. Everybody else was just like, what?
oh, crazy old lady's at it again, guys.
Old McCrazy's at it again.
Crazy old Maurice. That's a different movie.
But it's from the same place.
It's from Disney.
Also,
Also, a bit surprising. Oh, sorry, Sinister, go.
She was a good character. I kind of wish they'd done a little bit more with her because it kind of felt like they were setting her up to do more stuff, and then she just.
And once again, Sinister, we're at the opposite ends. I was sick of her. I'm glad she never came up again.
I mean, it's not. It's not like
she was there enough.
Yeah, I found her very annoying and grating. I think she was useful, but I didn't want her to show up again.
Let me restate my point. I wouldn't have wanted to see 30 more minutes of her, but I would have. They kind of felt like they were setting up like a little story arc, and I kind of would have liked to see how that would have unfolded, because the whole thing with Wild Bill and everything, it was just kind of like, I wonder why she has a problem with Wild Bill, and then he just like goes crazy or whatever and disappears, and that's it. Which I'm fine with. I don't know if there would have been a huge catharsis or a huge like payoff, but it would have been nice to have the option of it.
Yeah, I agree. There's setup there that they don't really do anything with. I just don't know what they would have done.
I don't know. Like he was like he like courted her or something, or I don't know. Like I'm not gonna write this fucking movie, but just something. It doesn't change my opinion of it one way or the other. It's just something that I was like, I thought they were setting up, and then it never happened.
It'd be good if at the end, when they're riding off in the sunset, she just popped out of the bushes and kicked him.
Kicked him in the shin.
Yeah, like trailing after him or something.
And then she's related to Clovis, so it would have been wow, crazy.
Wow.
What did you guys? So what did you guys think of the ricochet sheen to disarm Woody?
Well, I think it's a little unbelievable that they actually have lead and powder to throw the lead with in this one.
Well, they had $300 something, so I'm not too worried about it.
They've been living with Donovan. I'm more than happy to excuse the way that they have lead and ammunition now. I was just kind of asking more about, like, it's very Looney Tunes. I was just kind of wondering how it came off to you guys.
I think it fit the tone of the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I was mixed.
I thought.
Yeah. Sorry.
Being that I hadn't seen the film for so long, I thought the bullets hit his guns to disarm him, and then you find out that it actually shoot his hands. But his hands were shot with bullets, and there's no wounds. Not even blood.
That was going to be something I brought up, was why his hands were bandaged, because they shot the guns out of his hand.
I mean, it's more towards your Gilderoy Lockhart theory, Spriggs. He just did it for he just went to the doctor because he knows the town loves him, so he did it for the attention.
That could be it.
And then obviously he got really hurt when the money hit him. That's when it's personal.
Yeah, that's when it became personal.
But yeah, I was kind of in the mixed bag about it, because I do like the Looney Tunes joke. I just think it would have been better in Looney Tunes. It's in line. I mean this in the sense that, like,
me Looney Tunes does a better job of doing Looney Tunes than
Disney? What I mean by that is that I just kind of had. It felt
these films are silly, but it got a little too much.
Yeah, I think it was that point where I realized where I was starting to kind of not dislike the film, but where the comedy was starting to become less funny for me. Because
I think when there's a gag every second, that's where kind of the problems tend to come from.
Yeah, because in the first one, it's like I said, it's very well balanced with Donovan and Dusty and the kids. Like there is some seriousness going on. Yeah, there's a lot of comedy too, but they ground us in some of the more serious moments, so we can take a break from the comedy.
Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, they intend the military plot to be that, but I don't think they do a good enough job for that, especially since they involve the two of them in the military plot.
Do you think it's funny, Amos testing the lady's eyesight when her eyes are closed?
Yeah, that was a little funny.
That was a little funny. I think most of the stuff I laughed in this movie we've already kind of covered now, so I don't.
It's all in the first third.
Or,
is it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Did anyone notice the very odd and weird echo when they're in the barn?
No.
Nope.
Oh, it was. I didn't. I had to replay it. It was weird. It was just while Theodore was talking to Amos, he's just saying a sentence, and there's like 4 words he say that start echoing, and then they stop.
Do you wear like special headphones and like magnifying glasses whenever you watch these movies and stuff? Because you seem to always catch sounds or visual stuff that only any of us.
I will say this: having actually been in an empty barn, your voice does echo a bit.
It's wood, right? Well, and it's also got the hay.
Yeah, it depends on usually what it's filled with, but your voice echoing in a barn is not that unreasonable.
No, it's not unreasonable. What's unreasonable is it's not constant.
It just comes and goes.
There is no echo at all except for 4 words said. So I don't know if there was a mic difference, the situational cutout that they just kept running with. You couldn't do a retake.
I have the answer. This movie's just not that good.
Oh, you know what? That's a valid answer.
Yeah,
that fits.
Just not great. Yeah.
And then Clarice shows up with all the bags of money. I'm like, wow, the robbers just
that was
go, huh?
the single that ruined this movie for me. That moment ruined anything. I
will say this: I was on the fence up until this point, and then I think that confirmed it. I was like, oh, I'm just not gonna like this movie.
That was a plot.
Well, no, those robbers too wanted to give some money back.
No, it was like Clarice just wandered off or whatever. Stupid.
At least you guys had some time on board on the movie. The moment they're like, "Oh, Donovan, Dusty kids, they're gone now." I'm off this. Yeah. I'm gone now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for you, the first one is like these are the only 2 characters that you didn't like, right?
Yeah. I mean, they were okay. It's just I didn't really see them having a purpose in it.
That's fair.
And then they got this where their purpose still isn't that great either.
I don't think it's the character. You know, I was kind of going in this where I'm like, I'm not sure if it's the character's fault or not, and I don't think it is. It's just they're not writing them to their strengths at all, or they're going where they think the strengths are, but that's not what it is.
So where's the strengths outside, I guess, their comedy?
The story, like that they were like part of a gang and stuff, and you know they got there is like material there. I'm not saying this would be like a fucking Oscar-winning movie if they focused on that, but I think it would be more like story, like it'd have more story that I would enjoy. Loop that long silence, please. That was hilarious. Made me giggle.
I was going to say something.
My throat.
Pretty sure you were.
I was going to say something.
When they're talking about going into like delivering the money back, and Amos says it's as easy as falling off a log. It's a reused line from the first film.
Holy shit!
I actually did a bunch of. Oh yeah, I forgot I did this. There was a bunch. They said a line at the very very beginning of the film, is like they were talking about getting themselves spiffed up, like in their suits and stuff, and then we'll take this ground like Grant took Richmond. I
knew you were gonna bring that up.
Yeah, shocker, right? Me, the history nerd. The funny thing is that wasn't an easy thing. Grant was fighting Robert E. Lee for over a year to try and take Richmond. So
Richmond is a hard road to travel, I hear.
So I found that funny. I'm like, this is either I wrote down at the very beginning, this is either going to be a very applicable metaphor or it's not. and
I think you can excuse it a little, being that it's said by Theodore and Amos.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was impressed that they were able to make the reference at all. But I actually did the math because I was curious then when Grant started his campaign, which was the Wilderness Battle in May of 1864, and taking Richmond, which is April 9th, 1865, or just a couple days after and before that. Which is 340 days, so nearly a year.
Well, that does fit in the time frame of this.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to them referencing it in the time frame. I just thought it was their choice of metaphor for how they're going to take the town.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny because it was very difficult to do that. And so I think it was just kind of, I guess, tongue-in-cheek. Like, they didn't understand the reference they were making because they thought it would just be easy.
Yeah,
which I think fits.
Yeah.
That was one joke.
There's enough wiggle room there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a layered joke that actually worked for me at the very beginning.
Wouldn't you be amazed if that was just that was just accidental and it's not at all intended to be a joke? He just made a mistake. That would be hilarious. But that would make me loll in my pants.
Okay.
Okay. I don't have anything else to act.
Did anyone catch the Lone Ranger theme?
We didn't.
Okay.
Where was it, Sprinks?
I believe it was when Wooly, after it gets on his horse from giving his little speech and rides off, it starts playing the Lone Ranger.
The Ranger only had one gun. Shot silver bullets.
Yeah. I think my last note has to do with the booze boxes that
that was a weird one.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
The champagne.
The champagne bottles bursting. Didn't understand that. I also didn't understand how Lone Ranger dude or Marshall couldn't tell he was standing on people. It's pretty. That to me was a little like you're really pushing the limit here of comedy.
Well, he hurt his neck, which is connected to his nerve tendons, so he probably didn't feel anything. No, that's definitely not true.
Yeah, I know. I just
that's like the only.
Letting the silence just fill with me staring at you like I'm in the office or something. That's what that was. But yeah,
champagne bottles. Don't know what they were thinking. Oh well. We got a funny drunk joke out of it, right?
I guess, yeah.
Not really.
It was an attempt at a joke.
Funny, the word to use.
Yeah,
it was a
maybe
joke.
Somebody.
I don't.
Not us.
Yeah.
That killed in the Disney offices. They were like, "This is the funniest fucking thing ever." Kids are gonna laugh their ass off at this because they're gonna totally understand what's going on.
Well, if it helps at all, which could help into writer here, probably the most. The first film was based off of a book. The second film had no book to be based off of. It was just going along with the first film. Both were done by a writer, Don Trate.
Taters.
Interesting.
And his father was Don Quixote.
Oh no,
Don Tate. Yeah.
They had the classic, really, really wounded Marshall, and someone touches him when he's just really hurts, but he just groans, like he doesn't keeps it in most of it. Yeah, the slap on the back.
It's like the Pink Panther movie.
That's kind of it's more of a classic joke that usually gets me to smirk at least. Sprinks, I have a question. Am I dumb, or do Theodore and Amos just constantly come out the same alley into the street throughout the film when they're trying to avoid people?
All right, first part of your question, you don't want me to answer that. Second part of your question,
I can't answer that.
Think so?
It looks like the same town from the first movie. It looks like
it kind of looks very similar.
It looks
I think they reused the whole set.
But Quake City and Junction City are two different places.
Apparently.
And Buffalo Springs
look
also
identical.
a different place.
All three of them just happen to look exactly the same.
Yes.
I think it's located next to Radiator Springs.
That would be a movie.
Off of Route 66? Yeah.
That would be insane.
But yeah, no, I don't.
I don't know who made it would be in this.
I don't, but it was at a time where they just got rid of sets, and it was like 4 years later, so I don't think it's, I don't know. It could be, it could be the same set, but it's also like a fill-in for like any Western town, so they could have used it for anything. That's the only thing I can...
Okay, this is a really dumb question, but is Apple Dumpling Gang, was it ever related to Universal Studios at all?
No.
Okay.
No, it's Disney.
Yeah, because I'm remembering there was a very, very like famous there's a couple famous Western sets at Universal Studios in the time when I
there's the one that the freaking Manson cult lived on, Spawn Ranch. That was used for a lot of Western TV shows and stuff.
It was reused in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well, yeah. I mean, the area. I think all the sets were gone by that point, but yeah, they had to bring them back in. But yes, it's true. Yeah, I mean, there's probably a bunch of like studio ranches and stuff. So it could just be they just reuse the same one. But that cannot confirm nor deny.
So did the captain, or what was it, Jim? You said Captain Jim's thing to go to Junction City to get Millie and booze for the fort?
Yes.
That is a regular thing. I mean,
okay.
I mean, obviously the orders for him were to pick up the girl, but I can buy that the military wanted the drinks, especially since they had an upcoming party.
Got a party coming.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a party coming round.
Remember, booze is not outlawed in the military. Otherwise, they would be very angry.
Especially Grant.
That's funny. Yeah.
He would not stand for it.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of the things that refer to General Grant, they always call him belligerent drunk, but man was just struggling with alcoholism his whole life. He actually,
yeah.
I know the joke. I know it's kind of a joke, but also he's also on record that whenever he was doing important stuff, he was always stone cold sober, because he can't be winning battles when he's drunk.
True.
There you go. Sorry, more history for me. That's
more history.
Oh, good. Does anybody have anything else on this act?
Lord, no.
No.
Okie dokie, into Act 2. From the fort to essentially leaving the fort.
Comedy ensues. There we go.
He should. Yeah, they arrive. Things happened. They get shipped off to prison. I guess, if I may, I'll start us off on complaining lady Millie and Jeff just talking the whole way to the fort. It feels like, or she's complaining the whole way, like nonstop.
Yeah, he took a bumpy path.
Yeah.
Yeah, on purpose, probably.
Probably.
We went on a bumpy ride.
Boom, boom. I think, by the way, I don't think the romance is very strong because we don't see any.
Oh God,
we don't see.
I think it might be one of the worst romances I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's still a better love story than Twilight, but yeah, go on.
It's pretty bad. I do think that these in between travel scenes are very wasted opportunities to try and make it worthwhile.
Yep.
Because as much as her complaining is supposed to be funny, you can do character building with her complaining and him responding. Why is he willing to deal with her in that sort of sense? So there is ample opportunity here that I think is definitely missed. Because as you say, it's not a good romance.
Horrid.
Even.
Like it. I didn't like it at all.
You didn't like it?
No, I did not.
No, sir? Didn't like it.
I think all the relationships in Velma are better than this one.
Whoa, heavy.
Jesus.
That's a big statement.
Okay. It's a big statement, and I'm standing by it.
You can't walk that back. You can't walk that back, man.
So here's the thing. I think I agree with Crimson, but I did find this one more entertaining than the ones at Velma because the ones at Velma just angered me.
Yeah, this one didn't really anger me other than the fact that I just thought it was stupid. But
this one made me scratch my head and go, all right, I guess. Velma made me angry.
So, it's the laziest relationship writing I think I've ever seen, but other than that...
So bad. And then they loved each other.
They kissed and got married, yeah.
This one just feels weird. Like, it doesn't... It feels very unnatural. She's annoyed with him, doesn't like him, so he kidnaps her and makes her essentially work on this farm, this little wood house, where then she leaves on her own, only to know that he loves her, said by someone else, not
Who's
from
blind.
himself. Yeah, who's blind. To then try to help him out on a train robbery, and finds out that he is a captain. So he's high up, you know. He's got valor.
I'll say that's a little more consistent. She was complaining that they didn't send an officer to her.
Yeah,
and he was
she's
an
definitely
officer.
somebody. Yeah, she's definitely somebody turned on by authority.
I don't know if I go that far, but
she's attracted to authority. There we go.
Yeah. So I mean, So like the whole him being a captain, I think that is a point in favor of whatever we could call being in favor for this relationship, because clearly she was
ladder
looking.
climber.
Yeah. But I agree, it's a very weird relationship. I have no idea what they were planning to do with it. And like I said, I think these travel scenes are wasted opportunities because I think this could have been set up for something.
I agree.
I mean, I think it could have. I did not have any hope in the world that it would. So I wasn't disappointed.
Oh no, I had
Bring
no
out
hope
joke.
either. I had no hope either.
Yeah.
I think it was at this point I realized that they were trying to insinuate that the two of them would get together just because of all their previous interactions.
The second there was a man and a woman, I was like, okay, this is the relationship. All right, let's go. Like,
No, I mean,
okay.
the actors do a decent job. At least the captain does.
Tim Matheson is good. Yeah,
I'm
not really gonna.
The actor definitely helped me realize, okay, they're gonna end up getting together. I don't know if I'm gonna buy this romance at all, but
yeah, I don't think the actress was. I don't think she was at much fault. Just I think she just had really bad script. That's all I'll say.
She's doing the best she could with what she was given.
Mm-hmm. That is. I think
I will agree with that.
Yeah. Could have been better. I don't know if it could have been worse, but could have been better.
Now, Ryder, you seem to be the main historian here. When a sergeant inspects a weapon, is he to look directly down a barrel of a rifle?
If it's unloaded, yes. But they check it, make sure if it's unloaded first. Like they make sure there's legitimately nothing in there. No powder, no lead, nothing. Then
okay. Did he do that?
No.
Because I think he took his rifle and just immediately looked down the barrel.
Nope, he did not.
Okay. I was just curious.
Score 1 for that guy.
Yeah, that's that man lost his job.
But he was so good at yelling.
He was a really good drill sergeant.
Yeah, Clarice is wandering the wilderness and just obviously tracking down Theodore and Amos.
Clarice is a great tracker.
Oh my god,
best. I think she's part camel too, because he seems to not eat or drink anything and stay alive.
Part camel, part bloodhound.
Whatever pixie amalgamation fairy thing that this horse donkey is, it's impressive. But that's how our marshal will show up later. So he spots Clarice by a stream.
What was the captain's plan here with the arrows, by the way? Was it just to run out with them?
Get evidence, maybe?
Yeah, that was the dumbest thing he could have done. I don't know.
The only thing I can think of is evidence, and I don't even know how that is perceived as real evidence.
And how would this movie have gone if he actually did get shot by that rifle? Let's say that rifle shot him and killed him.
That would have been the end of the plot.
That would have been the end of the movie.
Well, okay, you know what? The Indians would still show up because of Theodore and Amos. So the robbery would still be ruined, but there would just be no one official there to arrest them.
That's true.
Let's see. I've had the same point twice, and it's gone away both times, and I'm kind of getting aggravated.
Amazing.
Well, I'll go to a little joke that they reused.
Please.
Theodore's weapon falling apart, like the first film, and
that was a good one in the
sticking
first
to
time.
things.
Went on too long again.
Do it again and keep doing it. That's the Disney way.
I guess it's a way of like keeping character actions or traits, but
something like that. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
Is
it's
it
just like
Theodore doesn't know how to mantle a weapon, or
no. I mean, it's just like literally like, hey, this was kind of a funny joke from the first one. Let's do it a second time, kind of thing. I guess that's like the only thing I can kind of reasonably assume. Yeah, I got nothing on that one.
The thing is, I'm trying to think it over in my head. I don't actually know what the point of the trapper bringing the bodies back with arrows in. I'm not
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because if the idea was to steal the arrows as evidence, the two of them are working together. Why would he bring the bodies back with the arrows in them? The trapper would have just kept the arrows, but still returned the bodies.
Also, they're both military people, so they like it'd be kind of obvious that, like, hey, you're Lieutenant Shakes or whatever. I don't know. Like, why are you having a body?
Well, I mean, I guess they're military intelligence. They're in disguise. Yeah. I don't have much of an issue with the fort not knowing who they are.
Yeah, I realized that after
Yeah, no worries. But now I'm questioning because you brought up why he tried to steal the arrows and how lucky he didn't die. Why?
Yeah, like I don't.
I feel like because their point of this, they are collecting evidence. So I feel like the trapper would have just kept the arrows, especially since we know they're working together. And they could have just said a comment, because this is an issue that I think is fixable. They could say a comment about, I checked the wounds, looks like arrows, and then meet up later, and because they do meet up later, and he brings out the arrows. It's like, okay, I pulled these from the bodies before I returned them to the fort. It's a very easy fix to fix that problem.
Or maybe it's stronger evidence if there's witnesses seeing that their body was hit with arrows.
Chance of that, yeah.
There is a chance of that, but arrows have a very particular shape in the body. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can definitely fake it with a knife and stuff like that, but that's a level of effort that it's not. Sorry, Ryder. Ryder had to do research for his fantasy novel. So
would it have helped if it was, since there were two, if he kept one and the other with?
Oh yeah,
then it would be weird why there was only one.
If
there was two. Both bodies were shot with arrows without him.
Well, I mean, in the case of the example you're giving, Springs, if they took half the arrows and half of them were still in them, the story could be that he came across the Indians as they were getting their arrows back and ended up chasing them off.
Yeah, that way he has what his intentions are for here to return them with the arrows, and then also of helping out the captain by giving him later on.
Yeah, and the reason this works, Crimson, is because we can see that the military doesn't really give a crap as to why he's there or what he's doing. They're not even going to pay him for the bodies they're returning.
Yeah. Bad scene. They didn't think.
Yeah, they didn't think.
Surprise.
Which is a shame, because this is one of the pinnacle points of what's going on for the military plot. We don't know fully what the military intelligence is up to because we don't know their military intelligence. We just think they have something to do with the robberies, possibly.
Why would they accept Theodore and Amos?
Yeah, that was I think another dumb thing
they got there. Yeah. Especially, I would imagine some time has passed for them to get somewhat trained. But I don't know if they did. I would imagine they did.
Well, no, they literally it's like the next day, and then they're
that's why it's weird.
They were at the fort for like 2 days.
It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, right, they coerced. From what I can tell, they were coerced into signing their contract with the military while they were drunk, and then they were just forced to be there.
Oh, that could be it.
And the guy expected them to know what to do.
Yeah,
when the sergeant took him away.
Yeah. Well, I don't expect them to. See that I do have an issue with. I don't have an issue with them having joined the military. Like, that's how military recruiters have done far worse than trying to recruit people. So
I mean, Shanghai. So yeah.
So I'm fine with them being. That's how they ended up in the military. They were just talked into it while they were drunk, because they even start the whole you can join us, we'll be a group together kind of thing. And they even start saying them the cliche stuff. So them being there, I don't have an issue with. My issue is, as you say, Crimson, the expectation that they know what they're doing almost immediately. Because if if it's supposed to be like 2 days later, that's a problem that they are immediately supposed to know what they're due. And if it's a week later, it's a problem because they should know what they need to do at this point.
Well, that's why I bring it up, because if it wasn't, the issue would be they expect them to know stuff. And if it was a time jump, then they would know what screw-ups they are during that time and wouldn't want them to be part of it. So I
think it's just the very next day.
Well, yeah,
I mean, that's still bad. That's what we're trying to point out.
It's still bad either way. Yeah. I find it odd that Hancock just walked right into the middle of the fort to join the officers' party. No idea how he walked in. I have no idea how Clarice got in. Well, okay, actually, I take it back. Clarice is like Roach or any other video game horse. She will just teleport where she needs to go to the users. But I have no idea how Hancock got into the fort.
He just walked in.
Yeah, that's the fucking problem.
Well, it could be the same thing.
He's a marshal. He flashes badge.
Same thing he did here. When the guy stopped him at the party and said, only officers and friends, and he goes, I am an officer. Could have done that at the front gate.
It doesn't work here either, though. They were going to kick him out.
Well, first off, they let him draw his weapons, aim them, fire them, and then hold him, which is also showing a public display of him being reckless that they then allow the following morning.
Yep. A lot happened that night between the black powder kegs, the potato faces, and
the kerosene barrel.
Oh my god. This was a little too much for me in I guess slapstick comedy.
This fort survived so much, so we'll put all of our stuff centralized to destroy our fort.
Yeah, and then the blame goes to Theodore and Amos when it should be on Willie Bill.
I mean, they were chucking kerosene on the fire, so I think they are. Yeah,
they made it worse.
They are culpable for the damage as well.
Okay, another history lesson here. Freaking writer, would they actually have like just barrels of like open kerosene with like buckets in them?
Open kerosene? Absolutely fucking not.
Right next to the gunpowder shed.
It would be treated like black powder. It would be sealed, and while I'm fine with them having all their black powder stored in one spot, they would have it under guard always. The fact that there's no one there, even though that fire is starting somewhere in the center of the fort, there would have been someone there to pretty much shove the two idiots away.
Okay.
Because,
the two idiots were instructed.
Yeah.
They weren't trusted.
For some reason. The screw-ups that can't put together their guns.
Yeah.
Have them take care of the.
To be fair, there would have been a Union officer there aiming their gun at them because Amos was running at them with fire around his shoe.
No. You know what's more important than guarding the black powder or kerosene or anything? It's guarding the guy in the jail cell who's already locked up. He needs a guard.
He does.
He was pretty smart, though.
I know being sarcastic, but he does need a guard.
I'm just showing where they're putting their guards.
I couldn't tell Crimson because he's pretty smart on his way to get out, but I couldn't tell if he could just climb out the window.
It was Bart. I was gonna say he's being.
It was Bart.
Really
okay, that's what I was asking.
Lucky, he could have there could have been no guard there to let him out, and he could just burn to death.
Yeah, I mean, it was a gamble.
Yeah,
sure.
It paid off, but
yeah.
Eventually the place would have probably caught fire because it was right next to him. So
yeah.
I
was gonna say the only thing I have about the whole letting him out scene is that the person who let him out would have waited till he walked out of the room instead of walking out first.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I also don't know why he would just entrust him. He's in the cell for a reason. We can take every bit of help we can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing that you have him for is potentially stealing arrows. That's not a huge offense, but it is an offense nonetheless. I think that would have been fine that would have been excuse enough to let him out.
But they've also had a lot of deserters or whatever, right? Which has kind of been a problem they've been having.
Yeah,
Did they say that?
Not just the individual's actions, it's also what's going on around the fort and area as well.
Yeah.
On the marshal just entering, I think at the gate he could have flashed his badge and believes that the Apple Dumpling Gang is here and he's here to apprehend them.
Yeah.
Might be enough to get past the gate. The actions inside, though, that is inexcusable and really bad.
Both at the
Well, yeah,
party
they
and,
realized
and
He
both
was
at
lucky
the
they didn't like shoot him.
Yeah.
both at the party and the next morning, where he just gets up out of the rubble and just aims his guns, and just fires wildly. They do not allow that.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of stuff in the military, but you can't just break into a party and start shooting wildly. I've heard.
A silly, stupid thing that I'll excuse because it seems to make sense is where Amos's foot's on fire, and he tries to put it out with like the dirt and waddles over to ignite the new line of black powder.
Oh yeah, because
it's silly and dumb, but I think it works for how they do it.
So this is different from when he's got the rag around his foot and kicks it into the tent. This is later on.
This is after that. Yeah, when the first line's lit, but they're not connected.
Yeah, I think
his foot's on fire.
Yeah, I think it's because he got kerosene spilled on his foot, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, that works.
That sounds right to my recollection. But no, this sequence is really good.
I guess I have to ask, how did we feel about Amos's
stupidity?
Yeah.
Very similar to the first one.
Yeah, this was I think this was worse.
Yeah, because the reason I'm asking is because he just he doesn't. I don't know the correct term, but it's because it's not ADHD, but he has a very, very short attention span.
Oh yeah.
He just it's like, oh, I forgot the note. Then he just lets Theodore potentially die.
Always.
Oh, look, cake. Then he just
daydream.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, look, cake. And then he just leaves Theodore to spill a bunch of punch.
Yeah, a punch bowl thing was. I mean, I knew.
Was punch invented here?
Bear.
Yes, this was the invention of punch.
I didn't know when punch was invented. I didn't know what beverage that was.
They said punch bowl.
Yeah, they said punch.
Well, they didn't say punch, but it was a punch bowl.
Pretty sure they did.
Did they?
The first punch recipe dates back to 1638, when John Albert de Mondesella, a German managing a factory in Surat, India, recorded that the workers were there made a kind of drink consisting of aqua vitae and rosewater, juice of citruns and sugar. So 1638 would be the answer.
Definitely around.
That's impressive.
At least on America. Whether or not it was in America at the time, I guess that could be.
The original ingredients and source may be unknown, but what is certain is that punch had made its way to the New World. Punch existed in the U.S. before the U.S. and was the U.S. references to punch in letters, menus, and even government documents as recorded as early as 1682.
Then there you go.
Somebody looked up
then
at the
punch.
same time.
Yeah, we both looked it up, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you said India, so I was thinking when it came to America.
Yeah.
When did it come to America?
Once again, since they know the losers, the incompetents, why would they trust them to do that task as well?
You mean emptying the black powder?
Yes.
Well, that is bad, but before that as well with the punch, I think is also. Is there no simple task they could have them do that they couldn't just ruin something with?
Yeah, that's what kind of bothered me.
I mean,
there was no depths, there was no bottom to their stupidity. The fact that they couldn't do the simplest.
It never bottomed out. Yeah.
The fact
they
couldn't
the
do
simplest task was peeling potatoes.
Yeah.
It was the cook's thing who told him to do the punch.
Yeah, I guess the punch is kind of simple. I guess.
Oh, I mean, it would be. But if I were their commander and just know how much they're screw ups, and I still want them in my fort for some reason,
that was
I would
the other
give them
thing.
something they couldn't screw up.
Look, here's the thing. If I was their commanding officer, I would just send them to my enemy's fort as captives. I'm sure that place will be burning down in a week for me, and I can take it easily. That's what I would do.
That's a very church answer.
Yeah. And then even if they don't, they die and they're out of your hands. Perfect.
Exactly. It's a win-win scenario.
Who does the winning? Who does the sinning?
They would be my original Suicide Squad.
Oh wow. On the topic of winning, I think something this film wins at is that wonderfully done practical explosion.
Yeah, I think a lot of the practical effects in this were pretty well done.
I think that was
the fire, the explosions, the train stuff. All that was pretty good.
I think I agree. I remember writing down that explosion looked practical, and I'm kind of happy we all agreed on that, I guess.
Agree.
I'm also annoyed that Amos couldn't just lift his hat up to see.
Oh, his Baker hat?
Yeah. Like I said, it's just like the level of stupidity that they're operating here is ridiculous to the point of unbelievability.
Well,
so you guys think they're more dumb than the previous one?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I think Theodore's at the same level.
I think Theo is dumber, but I feel like Amos is about the same.
I disagree with that. I think he's actually either as smart or smarter than he was in the last one, because he actually has more common sense.
Who, Amos?
No, Theodore.
Theodore.
I think Theodore's.
I think Theodore is self-aware of the situations they get in. Like, he understands how much trouble they get in. He understands he might be about to die. Because he's shivering and shaking with fear, and Amos is just like, what the fuck is happening now?
We gotta put the punch bowl out. We'll be yelled at while the fort is burning right before his eyes.
And Theodore just looks at him like he's crazy. Because, like I said, I think Theodore actually is smart enough to grasp the situation, but he's not smart enough to navigate the situation.
The spinning part, I get he's trying to have fun with them, so I'm fine with that. Well, am I fine with that? I don't know. Do you guys think he would just take him out at this point, or he'd play with his food?
No, I think he'd take him out after all the trouble.
Especially just shooting at the party, nonchalant like that. I think that he would just take him out.
Yeah. Also,
there's also
I'm pretty sure
guards behind just staring and watching.
Oh yeah, I'm also pretty sure the military guys, since obviously this guy opened fire in the center of the party, they would not have waited that long to get him. They would have tackled him to the ground and broken his hands again.
Yep.
They allowed him to do all this. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Something else I touched on, after the fire explosion, they let all the horses out and free, which usually happens during a fire. Outside the fort, there's a shot of all the horses coming out, and the horse hit the camera.
Yes, it did. I remember that. Poor cameraman got hurt, I guess, filming the scene.
I guess so. Maybe he didn't necessarily get hurt, but he moved the camera with himself out of the way.
Which I guess
they could have just cut it earlier.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's a cool perspective shot. I don't know.
It was not played as a point of view.
Yeah, like I said, it's not played as a point of view, which would have been better if they did. I think that would have been cool if a guy fell on the ground trying to dodge horses, and then we have the camera trying to dodge the horses oncoming.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been cool, but we don't get that. Millie gets kidnapped. I don't understand why she didn't just
jump off.
Yeah, that's such an easy solution.
Well, she didn't want to ruin her dress for a second time.
Exactly. That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
So she loves him anyways.
She loves him.
Well,
she clearly doesn't love her fiance, because I mean, Jesus.
Oh, he doesn't care about her either.
That's true. He's busy.
He's trying to chase her down.
Yeah.
Hey, he's a okay guy. I mean, he's a rapscallion, but
guy was an Independence Day.
Was he?
He was.
Huh.
He was one of the president's advisors.
Oh, he was. He was. Yeah, you're right. He looked familiar. I'm just trying to figure out why.
I don't think I have anything else for this act.
Yeah, this act was bare bones, as they say.
Well, he got sentenced to 30 years. the max sentence somehow.
It's done it long enough.
Yeah.
Which I guess for these guys is the death sentence, though, because they're
to Bridger military prison, and he's going to be removed in 2 weeks because he's been shown to be incompetent on the matter of the supplies being stolen.
And the fort burning down, I think, would have also lost him his command.
Yeah, I think the fort burning down, is also a pretty big deal.
Up to that point, he already said he's out of excuses for Washington.
Yeah,
we said it like 50 times. I didn't believe him any of those times. Did you?
He did bring that up a lot.
I mean, that's kind of what they had to do because I don't think they had the budget to do anything more with that.
No, obviously not.
But I guess I do like that there is consequences for him not being able. He's the one overseeing all this, so obviously the one in charge is going to be the one that's getting blamed.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
No one wants to touch on the wood cutting scene.
Oh, is that in this? Is that in this? Oh yeah, you're right.
That's before they get shipped out.
The cabin's the last thing in the act.
I'm gonna.
He's so cocky.
I'm gonna say the wood cutting scene in Age of Ultron is better.
Oh,
which was sad.
Absolutely.
100 times better.
Can you imagine if she got so pissed at him that she just picked up a log and just Captain America'd it?
That would have been amazing.
Crazy. But the first thing that popped in my head was when she, she's about to fall and she says, "Let go of me," and he goes, "Well, I'm the only thing stopping you from, hitting the ground." She goes, "Just let me go." I immediately went to very poor choice of words.
You're right.
Martha, she's a weird character.
Oh, she's a character. I didn't know that. Please explain.
Borderline character. Yes. I already forgot her name already. Shoot, Martha? No,
it's Martha.
Millie. M names.
Oh, yeah.
Millie's like, I got kidnapped by him. She's like, whatever. Have fun here. That's pretty much her attitude. And she later, talking with her, is like, "You're a lucky girl. He likes you." And like, what is this a nut house? I'm confused. I'm seeing something else.
Yeah. On retrospect, now that we know he's actually military intelligence, the best I could assume is that Martha's house
is a safe house?
Yeah, that's the best I can assume is that Martha is a safe house and a point of contact along whatever the military intelligence is running out here. That's the best I can.
Blind.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
the blindness is not in contention here. It's her attitude I'm confused about.
So the fact that, in theory, let's assume Martha's in on everything with Captain Phillips. Like she is fully aware that Captain Phillips is working for military intelligence. It helps the scenes a little bit in that she comes across as more funny than creepy. But I agree with Crimson. I agree with what you're saying, Crimson. It's just you don't on your first watch through you don't get anything like how it doesn't help the romance at all.
I'll agree with that. Yeah.
It's creepy.
Yeah, it's very, very creepy. But again, this would be ample opportune time to do character building, not whatever creepy wood chopping shit that they're trying to do.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Her saying please, literally begging him, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't know brats knew that word."
Yeah, that's
really it's a relationship.
Anyone else getting some red flags or?
I kind of zoned out during that scene at first, and then I kind of came to, and then I was like, "Oh, this is yikes! This isn't a Disney movie. Ugh.
This is red flag territory for me." I do think that again there is something they could do here that they don't. Which is the idea that she's never had to do hard labor before because of her life. So there is something they could play around with for sure in terms of character building for the both of them. They just don't. It's just creepy.
I don't know if this means anything. At this point in the film, we got about 35 minutes left. I have about a third of a page of notes
Yeah.
for this
Kinda.
last part of from here on out. I'm just.
How much is that normally for your notes, though?
Well, this whole film, I had 2 pages.
Okay, but the
From
last.
here on, I have a third.
So it's on track then.
Yeah.
Okay.
They kind of
I
raced
have
at the end anyway, so
Just-
half
and
a
this
page for it.
The second half of this movie really is just.
yeah.
Well, it's very fast.
This whole movie's fast.
The whole
Right.
prison
Fast and the Furious.
and then heist in a very short amount of time.
The cross-dressing dance. Can't forget that.
I was a fan of that. I'm gonna be honest.
I knew you would.
I'll say
I
that's
thought
the
it
one.
was.
That's
not a
one of
good
the
show.
only scenes I remembered from when I was younger. And throughout this whole film, I'm like, "Where's the scene where they dress up as ladies? Where is that?" And then I'm like, "It's the last 11 minutes."
Where's the lady clothes?
I still don't understand why they switched out to the outfits, but I did find it somewhat funny.
Especially since they didn't plan to perform.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why they walked on the stage either.
I
We're not
don't.
there yet. We're not there yet.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, you're right.
Bookmark.
Bookmark. Yeah, so yeah, all the cabin stuff I guess is just again,
Whatever.
it just feels like wasted opportunity. Because obviously it's the serious military aspect of this that they intend to counterbalance Theodore and Amos's comedic gallivanting destruction through the West.
Yeah.
And they just don't really do anything with it. And whatever they have, it just feels really off and awkward. Then again, I am a 21st century person, so I don't. This could be flirtatious, I guess.
No.
But
I think
it's
even
still
that can be
creepy.
Even if
weird.
it's flirtatious through his means, the way she was playing it off didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
really
It doesn't
add to
help.
her love towards him.
Yeah, it doesn't
Mhm.
help. And so my point again, my point stands is like this is just wasted opportunities that are piling up.
Looking at this, comparing it to like Princess Bride of Wesley and Buttercup, it's a real night and day.
As You Wish. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why I steal As You Wish as a line and put it into fan fictions and other works that I do, because it's such a universally like used replacement for the words I love you. In that it's a very culturally understood phenomenon that's used. So I love using As You Wish in my other work that I don't profit off of. It's just, but in comparing to this, it is night and day. Because
That's why this relationship in this film to me is just very unnaturally creepy.
Yeah.
He's also on the job, so
yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm fine with
Well,
him.
yeah.
Well, he's out here.
I think
because-
I don't think that's the biggest problem with it.
it's
Is
not
that he's
the
on the
biggest problem.
job.
It's just another problem to tack on.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
for me, that's not a problem to tack on because he's out here waiting to meet with a contact.
Mhm.
Like he's
So he excuses himself to kidnap someone?
no,
I'm just,
that part's
I
weird.
think, yeah.
but
we're
like
not saying it's not weird. It's just that's the least problem with this. I
Yeah.
think a lot of other things are more problematic than just that.
you can't really say that she kidnapped her when she could have just jumped off. She clearly made a
Yeah.
choice to stay. I guess.
Well,
Also, he didn't-
sinister. She didn't want to ruin her dress.
Yeah.
I mean,
They-
she did choose after hearing the love situation. By the way, very Disney. That's a very Disney scene.
I can hear it in the way he says
That whole love thing. It's like love. Oh man. Oh boy.
Springs, did you get my I give you a timestamp reaction with a very specific face
Oh,
when
you
Reverse
put
Martha.
timestamps in. I didn't know what they were connected to. I didn't go back and check what time went to what, but
Okay.
you did have a couple.
Yeah, so all the close-ups on Martha's face is the one with I used Juror 9.
Oh, from 12 Ingerman.
Yeah. Because they were just that's what they did in this scene. It's just random close-up. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
And then I did the farming one, which is because they were talking about how they worked on a farm, and they don't want to do that for the rest of their lives because they want to go down in history. So that was my first React timestamp, and then my last one was the quote unquote revelation that he was military intelligence, because I figured that out really early in the film.
Before we wrap up this act here to go into the last and final one. Did anyone else catch the continuity error of the old ball and chain?
No, I didn't catch any continuity problems.
When they go to remove all the garments off of Theodore and Amos, when they go to Theodore, he is not carrying his ball at all until they cut to the next shot where it's in his hands again.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
All right. Strike against you, movie.
Another
Darn
one.
it, we're now in the negatives objectively. How dare you, Sprinks? I'm joking, of course.
Also, the scene that they're literally right in front of Corporal Gaskill, or sorry, Lieutenant Gaskill, and we already touched on it, but that was weird.
Like I said, he looks different enough. Doesn't bother me.
Sure.
Doesn't have a
Is
mustache.
that the last we see of him?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, because he's
died of
What a
been
waste.
yeah.
He died of acute dysentery moments later.
They brought the actor back to play this role for that. He didn't get any fulfilling ending. It's like, well, I've been fired. Goodbye.
Actually, no,
everyone.
we do see him again.
I love how you interpret it. It's hilarious.
We see him again.
That's what it
One
was.
scene.
No, but you're acting like the actor was like, that was I love this movie franchise. I love playing my character, Mr. McCoy. Can I be Mr. McCoy again? And then they're like, no, but you can be this guy. And he's like, oh, but I want an ending to my character. Like, no, but it's just him just getting a paycheck at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I wish
don't
I could
care
find
about-
something on why.
Yeah, you are correct. This is not the last time we see him because we see him when Millie just teleports back into the fort, and
Oh, what a
I
scene!
thought that's
there's no reaction whatsoever. I'm like, oh, okay, so she's been here then. Okay.
I guess we're in the last act.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that, Ryder. She's there and no one reacts, and
Well,
Ravencroft just goes,
Oh,
"We're
I
gonna
think
get married."
I think she's been there for a bit.
yeah, I know. The implication is that she's been there
yeah.
for a bit, but we missed out on a father reacting to the safety of his daughter.
Oh, missed. That's a big word to use there. Missed. Yeah.
I would say
He's
that we
sad
did
she's
miss it.
back because she's so annoying.
Yeah, she's so annoying, so prissy.
Well, we don't even know. Did she walk back? Did she go to
Yeah.
the Norwoods and ask for help? Did
Well-
she just show up?
the implication.
We know she's back.
Okay, so the implication is in the dialogue is that Martha says that if she follows the stream like I told her, she's gonna get to the Norwoods and they're gonna be the ones to get her back to the fort. So that is presumably what we have to work with. That's how she got back. Is the Norwoods helped her back to the fort because that's what Martha said that they would do.
And Jeff
Yeah.
didn't want to intervene.
Well,
Yeah.
Jeff didn't.
But he's got a job to
did.
do.
He's got a job to do
Yeah.
first. But yeah, it's very weird because I was expecting there to be a reaction to her return, but no, she's just there and they're happy to have her back, and I'm like, okay, definitely like a page is missing. It's what it feels like.
Yes.
Again, I think they were just racing to the end of this movie.
Well, they did pack a lot in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, they really shouldn't have. They really should have just let it kind of slowly peter out, I think, honestly. I have no idea what the fuck's going on for the last 20 minutes.
I think they should have Batgirled this and just not released it.
Oh, wow.
We should go
I
back
don't
in
know if
time
that's
and say
hard.
that.
I don't know if that should be said about kind of any
I mean-
movie.
Really?
Well, if a lot of work and everything has gone in, so much time and
They got
dedication
paid.
from everyone, I mean,
Say that about anything, literally
that goes
anything.
into it just being a paycheck rather than a form of art.
I wouldn't call this art. I know by
I would-
definition it's art, but you get
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
And I
Plus,
fall
they
into
really show Crimson,
any
come
single
on.
film as a form of art.
Ant pheromones.
A painting of a white canvas painted white is a form of art. Same could be said about a movie that has absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So a painting with
Yeah,
a white paint
I
on
don't
it.
disagree.
Yeah, a white canvas with white paint on it is technically art. You know what it is, though? It's very bad art.
I'm going
There's
pure
bad
definitions.
movies.
I wouldn't call it art, but by definition, I'd say it's art.
And I am staying out of this
Yeah,
conversation.
to be fair, it's happy to be back in episode 0. It's been a while since we've had this conversation.
I'm just saying, like a film like this, it came out. I'm glad it came out. I don't think any movie should not come out that is done and made.
I mean, I'm not glad this came out, but I'm not gonna say that I don't think a movie should just be shelved indefinitely. I think that's.
I know. Here, hold on. You know what movie that should have been shelved that we didn't need in this world? Jurassic World Dominion.
Yeah, it's probably the closest
See,
thing.
I'm more like, I don't think it should have been shelved. Like, if it's already done and made, put it out. If it's
Just
at the
don't
point
watch
where
it.
writing, don't greenlit it.
I guess that's the other point.
They don't know what
have
the final product's going to be.
That's true.
I guess it's the counter argument, though, is that you technically you don't have to watch this, so it doesn't really affect you in any way.
Yeah, please go watch our coverage of Jurassic World Dominion. I assure you, it's better than the film.
Probably painfully so, but yeah, that's the counter argument. Like, I think every film should get released, but
I mean, I say that as a joke, but I'm trying to I'm trying to genuinely think of a movie that I think would have been better off not coming out. And I'm like I said, I have to sit on that one because I can't think of an example right now.
Would the Snyder Cut been made if Justice League wasn't done?
No, the Snyder Cut wouldn't have been made if the fans didn't push for it.
Well, the second fucking Zack Snyder opened his big mouth and was like, "There's a whole bunch of footage they cut out of my version of the movie." Everybody was like, "We want to see that."
Yeah, for some reason, people thought after years of Zack Snyder that a 4-hour version of this movie would be better directed under Zack Snyder. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking.
I don't.
I'll say this without.
I haven't watched either version.
Yeah, without spoiling anything for edited view, for you to one day experience the grandeur of the Zack Snyder's Bible cut. I will say that there's a reason that Joss Whedon had a 2-hour mandate, and you know what? His cut is better, if only slightly.
We've brought it up, I think, in a bunch of videos recently, so I think we're going to cover the Zack Snyder version at some point, because it seems to be popping up quite a lot.
Maybe.
That's kind of that big push thing. There's not any films that come up to mind where people pushed for something of that sort to be done.
It's also
kind of when they redesigned Sonic for the Sonic movie.
It's also
pretty big.
It's also
that's along the lines.
Yeah, it's also kind of crazy to think about, and it's also because Snyder Cut's also kind of a phenomenon in the sense of like the director had 4 hours instead of 2. The director had an extra year and a half to do what he wanted to. He got to film extra scenes. He got to rework his script. Theoretically, it's not something I want to discourage, even though I think the Snyder Cut is bad, because like I would prefer that directors and artistic creators get to utilize their entire vision for what they're creating as a product. Like, that's something I support. It's just funny that it's the Snyder Cut that I have to use as an example, because theoretically this is like, you had all the time in the world. You had theoretically a free and open creative process to do what you wanted, and you couldn't produce something better than a 2-hour mandated cut.
Well, that's why I thought that was a good example, because if it was already to be coming out, but in that form, then the Justice League one could have been shelved if it's a form of the movie just, different to still come out that way.
I mean,
it's not a double paycheck for people, or if you're, those of you thinking.
Well, the editor got a double paycheck. The editor got a double paycheck. If it was the same editor, it probably was. Yeah. It probably was. But yeah, the editor got a double paycheck. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just, because some people really like the Snyder Cut, some people really don't like the Snyder Cut. I think.
To be fair,
one of us that's seen it, I think it's on the opposite one of those ends.
I don't hide which end I'm on, but it's. I mean, a lot of the thing I like about the Snyder Cut is that it's a director's vision. Like, he got to do what he wanted with his story without any mandate or cut, and it's a rare thing. So that's why the only reason it just sucks that it just sucks that it sucks.
Well, the question wasn't whether or not it sucks or not. The question is, should the other one have been shelved?
Well, it was already out, right?
Yeah. Well,
so like there was no.
That's why I brought up the question to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, if Snyder Cut was already to come out, then Justice League, I think, should have been shelved for that reason, and that's an example I can think of where, the payment's already gone through for those who were thinking of the payment, but there's still a project that came out of it that's done to be showed publicly.
I think the big difference though is that both of those are big, like Josh Whedon and Zack Snyder are both kind of big name people, so they kind of carry a lot of weight. So if, like, say roles are reversed, like Zack Snyder got his cut shown, and then like Josh Whedon, I don't see Josh Whedon doing that, but I can let's just say for example purposes, like I have a 2-hour version of it. I think the big difference was that like Zack Snyder was like they cut a shit ton out, and then whereas Josh Whedon's is it was the consolidated. So I think that would be less likely for them to say, well, we want to see Josh Whedon's 2-hour cut. Like nobody usually wants to see like less of a movie. They want to see more of a movie, usually.
Yeah,
well, but as far as getting shelved, yeah, I don't.
Okay, I guess
there's not that many examples.
I guess I have a shelving question for you, Springs, because I can't think of an example, but if the Lord of the Rings extended editions came out, like they knew that was going to happen before they released the theatrical versions, would you have shelved the theatrical versions?
I think so. Yeah, that's something along the vein. Yeah.
Yeah.
One I'd say the opposite end of is Kung Pao Enter the Fist, which is footage used from 1976 Hong Kong films Tiger and Crane Fists, which are respliced and edited along with additional footage for a new film.
Is that not at all the same thing, though?
It's different, but still in the veins of using already used things that aren't being shelved for a new product.
But it wasn't shelved, though. That was just re-editing 2 movies that did exist and were already out in the world.
I'm saying if the other 2 films were shelved for this film, for Kung Pao.
So if the other... Okay.
So that's the opposite, where I think that's great because of the film itself and how vastly different it is from the others.
I don't know. I mean, there's just development hell movies and shit. I mean, stuff just... And most of the time, it's not... Well, and like, look at Emperor's New Groove. Like, that was a totally different movie from the one that actually got released.
True.
I don't know. I kind of got in an argument with Crimson about this when Batwoman was getting, like, they were saying, like, yeah, it's not going to come out. I was on the side of, I'm like, I don't think that's, like, it's something that's the option that should be ever used. It's like, let's just not do the movie.
Well, the reason that I think they did shelve the Batwoman, which is an interesting concept, is that they thought it would do more damage to the brand than it would just re-releasing it. Like they thought it would do more damage to the brand if they released it rather than shelve it, which is a very interesting concept. But the problem is we have nothing to compare it to because obviously they didn't release it.
No, so they went with Flash.
There was also more factors going into it where they got a new CEO or whatever, and he was axing shows and movies left and right to cut costs. And they also figured, I heard it from one report, so I don't know how backed it is, that it would cost more to advertise it than any potential money they'd gain from it. So it was more financially led than creatively led, obviously.
Okay, see that to me makes sense because I mean I look at all the budget that a lot of films have these days, like Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny, huge marketing budget. That was
8, I think.
Yeah. And there's also the marketing budget where they actually buy out empty seats for theaters to make it seem like tickets are packed. Like that is something that they do.
Mm-hmm.
They do quote unquote pack theaters even though they're empty, but they bought all the tickets for them. So that's what they use the marketing budget for. Sometimes it's just for me, I guess when it comes to the Batwoman, like I said, they just didn't want to waste money, which I sort of understand. But it makes sense financially, even though creatively we might take issue.
Well, here's the thing. I think at the end of the day, right, is this is the question is market over artistic merit, and that's I think the crux of a lot of things going on in Hollywood right now is the marketability of something versus like having your vision up on screen or whatever. I'm not saying that the Batwoman movie is going to win Oscars or is going to be a huge, critical darling or something.
Yeah,
but enough people worked on it, and enough people put time and effort and put themselves out there to make it. And I think if at the end of the day, right, it's like this question of, well, it'd be way too much money to market it and push it out there, and we're not going to make that money back no matter what. And even if it made like $1 billion or whatever, we're not going to make that much money back to merit releasing it. Like, that's fine. Like, whatever, like I can understand that from a business perspective. But you can just fucking put it on a streaming service now, and you might not get a bunch, but you'll get something out of it, of like, it just seems like, okay, yeah, no, we're not doing it. We're going to just take the huge, financial loss.
They get a tax write-off as well for it, which they wouldn't get if they put it on streaming.
Yeah, well, again, I'm just saying,
how much in debt Warner Brothers is.
I mean, a lot, but that's
huge.
Every company right now is in a huge amount of debt. Netflix, Disney, everybody's in a huge amount of debt.
Yeah. The entertainment industry is it's a bubble waiting to burst, is what it is.
The point I'm arguing for here more, because I don't give a shit about Batwoman in the slightest, but the point I'm arguing for here is that if they can shelve fucking that, what can't they shelve? Is at the end of the day, like, kind of, it starts with one thing.
Oh, yeah, you're worried about the precedents it's setting.
Yeah, it's like, okay, like, I can understand, like, I will negate all my arguments for it, and I'll just say all you guys' arguments against it, fair and agreeable, can totally understand it, but it starts with that. It starts with like a point of like, okay, I can understand that, and then it gets to like, well, wait, I just spent 2 years of my life making this movie, and you're telling me I'm not going to get it released because it's not going to be necessarily successful in the general sense. And plus, again, everything's fucking cyclical. Like, stuff that was made like 20 years ago that didn't, like, nobody heard about, then becomes like a cult following and everything. Like, stuff, just like on paper, a bunch of movies that are now considered really, really great were terrible 20, 30 years ago. So you just never know, But I think the whole idea of just putting something in a vault and just being like, yeah, I'm not going to do anything with this, it's going away, making the best financial option is a very scary thing for the future of movies and television, all that stuff.
Yeah, see, like, I'm not...
Because it used to be, it was more financially viable to just release a turd than it was to just be like, not make anything.
Yeah.
And now if it's the opposite, that's a very scary thing.
Yeah. Like I said, I understand, like, so my stance is, I guess, I comprehend, like, I understand why they chose to financially do this. I don't agree artistically, though, with their decision.
Yeah, it's an interesting slope, because at an individual level, I agree, it would suck if you spent years working on a project and it just gets axed and you'll never see the final product. Terrible at an individual level, but if you shrink it down to like your movie doesn't come out, that's bad. But there's like a million pilots to shows that get made, fully made, produced, and presented, and those never get aired. It's kind of a similar thing where you put a lot of effort into something and it never gets released. Kind of feel the same way about unaired pilots. Or...
But does that make it okay? I don't like. That's the argument. Does that make it just because it's the same thing? Like, I would have the same agreement that it's just like, and oftentimes I will admit, those those pilots are just made for network or network execs or whatever that don't, and then they retool them and then they maybe become something else down the line. Like, that happens a lot. Mm-hmm. But I'm not. I think both is. Both sucks if you spend a lot of work on stuff. I mean, granted, I think you showed me the Buffy when I talked to me about the Buffy one, and that's apparently terrible. But so I still think getting something out there, even if it's not good or as good as you would imagine, is still like there's still something of victory in that. There's still an achievement in that. There's still something to be said about having something come out that you worked on. And maybe, I'm not going to say every person who worked on Batwoman or every pilot that ever made it, didn't make it to TV or whatever, was assumed they were making high art or was doing something that was groundbreaking. Even if you just do like a sitcom or something, you still did the work and you still got it shown and people watched it and people gave you feedback. At the end of the day, that's, I think, the important thing, is getting the feedback and having the recognition that you did do something.
And that's why I think there's a big push right now for people to go independent and go big corporate.
I mean, I don't blame them. That's
Go A24. I'm going to be watching all your films.
Honestly, go A24. Go anywhere that will actually let you make your movie or your project, and not just make you make a wide appeal thing.
And then there's Nolan and Quentin Tarantino, who are like too big that the studios just kind of alternate. Where like, hey, you could do what we want, and then you could do what you want, kind of thing.
See, that's the thing, though. They're established. That's the
yeah. That's for the established directors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Apple Dumpling Gang too.
Tag on Iron Circus Comics, who did Like a Daisy.
Yeah,
because they've raised over $1 million now.
Oh, it's past $1 million now.
Yeah.
Are they going to be doing like other people's projects, or are they just doing their own project?
They're doing their own.
I mean,
right
now.
Ironclad's an umbrella, right? That it's not just Laxadaisy; it's got other stuff under it.
Yeah, Rooster Teeth.
It's like A24, but something else.
Yeah, Rooster Teeth used to be independent. That's one. Mr. Incorporated is independent, I think.
As of now, but it looks like they're working on getting bigger. So I don't know how.
It depends, you know. Like if they have, I welcome going bigger, but you know, as long as they maintain their creative freedom, that's what you'd want.
Yeah,
such a deep talk for the Apple Dumpling Gang.
I am in agreement with Crimson back to Apple Dumpling Gang.
Yeah, good talk though. All right, where did we leave off? Bad Romance.
There was the ending.
Oh yeah,
teleporting Millie.
Yeah, I got to the ending, and we were like, "Oh, it ended! Oh my god, it's amazing!"
All right, Sinister has nothing else to say for this final act. Good to know.
I don't. You can just mute me. I'll do that right now.
All right. So, I guess Millie just teleports to the fort.
Yeah,
and it's kind of where we ended off with
missing page.
Yeah, missing page. I need to go visit my notes because I got distracted from the talk.
Theodore and Amos are in jail.
Guts.
They still have a name for themselves. I guess.
They're like they got the big name. I don't know why they'd go for the head honcho, because they might have the perception of being big, but they know themselves they aren't. So I don't know why they would willingly go for the big guy.
And this is even further spurred on that Theodore has been self-aware of the situations that he gets in. He is more than well aware of how dumb they are. So I don't think Theodore would have come up with this plan.
There's a second continuity error. Did anyone catch?
I didn't catch any.
No? The guard who lets them out into the courtyard is not the same guard they cut back to who closes the door. They're two different people. First one inside the building has a mustache, second one outside does not. Well, I guess cut to outside does not. I think it's also a little in character that they went after the scrawny guy with glasses for information.
It's true, and Amos can't lift him at all.
No.
Nobody can lift Theodore.
So I guess he weighs more than Theodore.
Well, he picked him up with two different techniques, though. I'm sure he could have picked up glasses if he did it the same way as Theodore.
Oh, a barrel carry? Whatever?
Sure. Whatever that's called. He didn't pick him up by his collar.
Oh yeah, then we cut back to the base, and I think they come out. Oh yeah, this is actually when Millie arrived. He's complaining that there was another theft on the way to the fort from their supply train. So we're at 5 thefts within the movie at this point, 4 or 5.
Yes. I
think
so.
Phillips needs to step up on his job.
I guess. Well, I mean, he also is going solo on the job. He's not.
Yeah, it's another. And yeah, there's like I said, the military plot's just not well constructed.
And then it just tonally shifts back to Theodore and Amos now in a dungeon with a dumb luck secret button.
Oh yeah.
For sheer dumb luck.
Yeah. So this is what luck looks like, Sprinks. Comparing this to The Princess Bride.
Yes.
In both cases, writer, neither one has to do with spirits.
No, the first one does. This one doesn't. This is what luck looks like versus the other one.
Yeah, this is what luck.
This one had the other one had a bunch more supporting it. The cinematography.
Cinematography is different.
Yes, yeah, because the cinematography, as I said, supports the other one being spiritual, spirits being present. So does the soundtrack.
We already touched on that.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for your counter argument.
I already gave it. I gave it in the recap, I think, for Decade. It's brought up again. In case you're curious, audience, we're talking about Princess Bride and if there's a ghost or not for Inigo Montoya if his father's around. But for here, yeah, it's a dumb luck situation of pushing a random rock on a cobblestone wall to then go to a secret underground meeting place.
With Big Mac.
Yeah.
The head honcho. Not just of the prison, but of the crime in the area. Very lucky. Very fancy in there as well.
Yeah, I had that part didn't make sense to me. I'm like, aren't you guys in a cave? Like, what the fuck? It was like a fucking mob room. Are these guys
pirates?
I thought they were mobsters. I got like Italian mobster, like, dining room kind of outfit. I'm like, that's
having a meeting of the family.
Yeah, I think if it was more family names of everything and like locations, it was more like a crew.
Heist.
I do like the explanation they gave for it, though. At least
I do as well. I do like that they at least it makes sense why the tunnels are there.
Yep. Doesn't make sense how the prisoners building the place got away with that without the people watching over them seeing it as well.
But at least it's something.
Presumably they would have been watched while constructing the place.
Or everyone's just in on it. Big Mac pays everyone off.
Well, he said only 7 people, now 9, and the outside man know about this place.
And you just think that is truth?
Why wouldn't I?
Well,
it's the same nonsense we had in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I don't know if he's playing as smarts of just because Theodore and Amos are around, and this is what they're witnessing. So he's playing to their knowledge.
There's no evidence to that.
I'm going to be honest, this is the guy who, tossed them their name. No, this is the guy who tossed them a gun and didn't realize they didn't aim when they shot his cigar.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to go with he probably told the truth because nothing here has told me otherwise.
Also, the fact I don't know if it's, I didn't check. I don't know if he tossed them a gun with the hammer already pulled on the revolver. Because if he did, then the trigger was just a trigger pull. If not, Amos, in his kerfuddle of holding the revolver, pulled the hammer and fired.
Yeah, the hammer is pulled on the gun.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I do have a screenshot of that. At least the gun he grabs from the gentleman. Okay.
That would make more sense that all 6 of the other members had, the hammers pulled on their revolvers.
What do you think he was going to have them shoot?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Who knows?
We don't get there. The story doesn't get us there.
No, the cigar was proof enough. Something odd I couldn't tell because there's no map and we don't really know anything, but is the prison, or actually not the prison, is Fort Concho closer to Buffalo Springs or Junction City?
Yeah, we got nothing on that.
Because I couldn't fully get why when they go to the saloon in Buffalo Springs, Willie Bill is there, drunk. Why didn't he go back to Junction City?
I don't know. We have nothing.
If
regarding that.
if he was excused from the fort, why would he go to that town versus the one he's known for?
Well, I mean, we don't know how long he was there.
How long he was there at the fort, or how long at the saloon in Buffalo Springs?
No, the other one.
Junction City?
Junction, yeah. We don't know how long he was there. He's not the sheriff. He's a marshal. He can go wherever that he wants. So.
Oh, okay. That's true. Never mind. Well, then again, I guess it also plays that if he's a marshal, a big name, then can go anywhere. Everyone recognizes and cherishes him in Junction City, but no one knows who the heck he is in Buffalo Springs.
I mean, he could have easily made a name for himself in Junction City the time he was there. He could have been there for like a week and locked up 10 people, and then boom, he's famous in that town. I don't really have a problem with his recognizability in the county.
His reputation around this world.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is convenient. I'll grant you that he's where Theodore and Amos end up.
Well, it's convenient. Everyone's here.
And that, yeah, the bank robbers.
Woolie's here. The bank robbers. This new heist crew with Big Mac.
Everyone's here. I did quite enjoy like the lead up to that scene where they were just going around trying to get help because they don't want to rob a train.
Oh yeah, they're going straight.
I like they're trying to stay. I like they're trying to stick to that. You know. We kind of already talked about the dancing scene. Did we have anything else for
that? There was a weird camera cut when they're in the back before they go into the room to change outfits. It's like following the two of them, and then it randomly cuts to the back of Amos's back.
Yep.
I think that was a harsh cut. And I don't know why it just wasn't a full-on tracking shot. Why they even cut to that. Also, being that Bill was in a straitjacket and like pretty much insane, they allowed him to leave with his guns.
Well, they said he recovered enough.
They could have confirmed his identity too over that time.
Well, they did. They acknowledged his position. They said they released him as the marshal, anyways. So, yeah. He's been played up to be a weird one here. No denying that.
Also, I think it was right before they go up on stage in the outfits and they're talking to one another. It is complete voiceover work because Theodore's mouth isn't moving whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And now that we're actually at this point, Ryder, do you want to complete what you were talking about before? We're back at our bookmark.
What? You've lost me.
Well, why they got dressed up and
oh yeah,
why they ended up going on the stage.
I have no idea. I have no idea why they went on stage. I have no idea why they got dressed up. I mean, Sinister liked the joke. I was kind of middle of the road. I'm like, I could sort of see this as funny. I mean, the idea is that everyone's so drunk they can't, tell that they're supposed to be gentlemen. Yeah,
for me, this is just like type of joke that would work on a cartoon.
Yeah, because it works. This would work better for me in a cartoon. For me, the funny aspect to this scene was Big Mac's reaction, like slowly convincing himself that it's not them. Because you could see that he's considering it, and then he just shakes his head. It's like, no, it's not. It can't be.
Yeah. I think they put on the outfits to disguise themselves. I don't know why they would go up on stage, though.
Well, they were trying to leave the building.
Well, why didn't they go out the back door?
I think that's what they were trying to do.
That makes it even worse, I think, because they clearly pass a visible back door.
Yeah, I can give a little credit because we do think Amos is the dumber one of the two, and Theodore was following Amos. If it was the other way around and Theodore was in the lead, then I would think that was worse on Theodore. Because it's not that dark back there.
It's not great.
And they already used
their goal was to. Huh?
But didn't they already use the back door before? They already know where it is.
Was that this place or a different place?
No, that's this place. They went to the bartender and it's like, "Where's the back door?" And he said, "In the back." But they're not dressed up as ladies when they asked that.
Yeah, they probably went to the back of the stage thinking it was the back. I don't know.
That could have been it.
Backstage. I can't think of any reason why they dress up. I could believe Amos and them just got lost and wandered onto stage, but I don't know why they would need to dress up in those outfits.
I think they dressed up because all these conveniently placed characters would recognize them in their standard outfits.
Well, not if they left the back door.
Yes, I guess so. If they just left in their normal clothes rather than stay in the saloon.
If they had seen like all the other people that were in there that would recognize them and then they dressed up, that would make more sense. But they just happened to dress up.
Also, played again. Wooly hesitant on firing his weapons at Theodore.
Oh yeah, he had ample opportunity to fire his gun. Though we could, maybe he jammed his finger, so it's harder for him to shoot. I don't know. He's had a really bad string of luck.
Yeah.
To put it lightly.
Now, I don't know if it's as much as a missed page. We could say half a page for me then here. But as much as a missed page of Millie just showing up back up at camp. But the whole story of how they got the blankets.
Oh yeah, we missed the page there as well. Especially as it's like really integral to get all the bad guys with guns aimed at them at the end. Like,
yeah,
just weird that it's the only way they could think of introducing the Native Americans.
The thing is, the arrows could have been set up for the Native Americans earlier on. They already had a potential avenue to introduce them. They just did nothing with them. So it's just this.
We traded their donkey for 2 blankets, and the donkey ran away.
Oh, that's on them. That's on them. I mean,
like this is the whole linchpin for the final act showdown.
You could say that about any trade.
It's pathetic.
You traded us 2 things of salted pork for this, and someone ate the salted pork, so we want our blankets back. I mean, what?
Yep.
Yeah, it's impressively lazy writing.
Did it ever explain or why Millie's on this train?
No,
other than what she's doing in Buffalo Spring on a train.
I think she was just heading home, maybe. Just happened to be, because it's just lucky that she's here.
She's not with Ravencroft because he's on his horse.
Yeah, the wedding's still on, so I don't know why she would just leave him at the forward.
Lieutenant Gaskill isn't here either.
She needed to be here to save him on the roof of a train car.
I guess so.
No reason she's there. Didn't catch that, but that's a good one.
It's just not explained. She doesn't just appear like she does at the camp and there's no reaction like a Miss Page. Well, actually, is this a Miss Page? Why she's here? Do they ever explain why she's on this train?
No, they don't.
She's not guarding the money.
They don't. She's just here because they wanted to tie the plot threads together, and I wrote that in my that's just lazy writing. She's just here.
Yeah.
Could it have
I think it could have been fixed a little if the lieutenant was here, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta guard the money, so you're just here with me."
Well, the lieutenant is here, but he's helping rob the train.
No, not Ravencroft, Gaskill.
Oh, sorry, you meant the commandant.
Her father, yeah. If he was on the train with her. Or if he said it at the tent, it's like, oh, okay, well, we'll be taking a train, for the payroll. Or like, it said it in that conversation.
I didn't catch anything.
I don't think they talked about that at all.
Nope.
They talked about another thievery, and then Ravenclaw is just like, I can't wait to get married.
Essentially. Do you think Theodore, because We've been kind of jumping back and forth between his intelligence and this. Do you think he would have been smart enough to realize that was the train that was going to get robbed?
I think so.
I think he would have been. That's why this whole ending is contrived as fuck.
Yeah, they went to Buffalo Springs to rob a train, and this is the train.
Do this, yeah.
They even see the crew outside the train window. What other train is there?
The other train. Yeah. Dumb. That's all I'm saying. The ending's fast and bad. I don't know how they managed to do that.
It's very fast. This is all within the last 8 minutes of the movie.
It's like 8 minutes, yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna an issue that I take is that somehow Captain Phillips just doesn't exist on the rooftop to everyone outside the train. Because he's out of frame, I guess. Everyone would be able to clearly see him.
Oh, the Native Americans?
Yeah, the Native Americans would, and so would, when they roll up with their two hostages in Big Mac and Ravencroft.
Oh. Well, he hopped on the train later.
No. You see, when the train goes by and Big Mac and Ravencroft are looking at the train, you can see Millie and Jeff on top.
No. That's not. Yeah. No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the scene where they announce themselves to arrest Ravencroft and Big Mac.
Oh.
Yeah, they're on the roof. They're on the rooftop still, but they're just not there until they're in frame again. Because everyone would be able to see them.
I thought I saw them there.
Oh no! I'm saying we can see them as the audience. We know they're there, but none of the characters can see them.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's what I'm saying.
No one's looking up.
Aren't their backs turned to them though?
Nope. They're looking at
the crew,
the train.
Not the Native Americans. They were there.
No. I'm talking about specifically Big Mac and Ravencroft.
Yeah, they'd be looking. They're too focused on looking at the money cart that they can't look slightly right and up to see them.
Yeah, they're in view. This is my point. Yeah. It's kind of annoying.
What I think is weird is the money and payroll is guarded by guards with weapons who don't use their weapons to guard the money.
Yeah, they're just let right in. The
guy comes up with a single revolver, a small pistol that he holds to them. They don't retaliate. They're just like, "Oh man, we're caught. Come on in."
Oh no! What am I going to do?
This money's not worth me losing my life over.
Oh man, what am I going to do with this Springfield repeating carbine? Guess I just got to drop it. It's not like it's better than a 6-shooter.
Come on in, here's the money, and then Theodore and Amos knock on the door, and they're like, "Come on in. You're part of the crew."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have issue with that. I would find it odd that my crew members would be arriving late, but at least they're here.
True.
It's definitely weird. Something about it's off. I don't know if I would take issue with them just immediately letting them in. I think they would question them first.
Well, the guards also don't take it as an opportunity.
That's also true.
One of them has turned their back to go to the door, so
yeah, that's also. And
true. There's 3 of them. Well, there's 2 guards, and then the one guy, I guess, like.
And we learned the money bags are heavy enough to knock people off several feet, so to move people around. So.
Maybe it's just my morbid sense of humor, because I had a similar thought in the first movie where I thought it'd be funny if they accidentally hung themselves in the bank. But wouldn't it be hilarious if Reed's like, "You're all under arrest," and they just shoot him in the head?
That'd be something.
Hilarious.
Another thing I don't get is when they go up to the guard and they say, "Hey, give me your hat." The guy's like, "Give me your hat." He doesn't use the hat to be like, then take place as a guard. He just wants the hat.
I mean, who doesn't want a Union blue hat, though? Yeah, I have no idea.
I guess so, but it seemed like it was going to be used for something, and then it's just him wearing the hat.
Yeah, I have no idea. A lot happened, and it's really fast. Do we have anything else?
Thinking Theodore and Amos are like, "It's us," and Jeff goes, "Oh yeah, good job, cowboys.
Good job, soldiers."
Yeah, it's like who are you? Okay, which I think is the real loss of glue and structure of A and B plot here.
It's supposed to be funny, but doesn't work because there was nothing between them at all. No interaction, as you say. The only interactions they had are indirect. It's like
I've seen you, don't know who you are.
Yeah, it's like they're operating in parallel but never cross each other's paths.
Yeah. And then I would say another page gone, because now they're just on Clarice going back to the farm. So I guess everything got resolved.
Yeah, though I mean they're reading the report, I guess, that Captain.
Oh, the newsletter. Yeah.
That's pretty much the only clues to what you have that's going on. Because
well, they were honorably discharged
instead of dishonorably.
Yep.
Well, I guess they did help in the end, and they're going to go down in the history book. So I guess they accomplished their goal. It makes sense they're going back to the farm, right?
I guess so. Was that the whole goal of their thing in this movie, was just make a name for themselves?
Yes, they wanted to go down in the history books. That's what they said at the very beginning when they were just pulling up in the junction.
It took them 3 days.
Yeah, they got framed for bank robbery, grew up and destroyed a fort, caught some bad guys, and that's the movie.
A couple hours, and yeah.
Oh my God, are we at the end? Oh, thank God. Silence.
And then they name
Sinister,
drop
did the
Donovan
silence kill you?
Dusty again.
Oh.
That's true. They do.
Does anyone have anything else?
Yeah, I do not. I think I got all my bits out there.
Ending sucked. There we go.
I mean, it's kind of funny that Theodore and Amos suddenly know how. I mean, like, you know, they're in
Know
their.
how to read
they're
and
still they're still in their dresses, I guess, when they're holding everybody at gunpoint or helping
Yeah.
Philip, which is, I guess, didn't make me smirk, but I think that would make somebody laugh.
Well, everyone laughed when they took the blankets off of them.
I thought that was a little. I thought that was a little misplaced, mostly because of everything else that's going on in the situation. Like, they have other priorities, being arresting people, that sort of thing. But I guess
they needed a good chuckle to send off, I guess.
Yeah.
There's nothing funnier than a man in a dress in the Wild West times. That's just a fact.
I think the one thing that I think is okay of the ending is it's somewhat of a bookend to the beginning of them on Clarice entering Junction City and now them leaving.
On Clarice returning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I'm going through my notes. I did forget something. How did they pay to get on the train?
Good question. I have no
Flash
idea.
a little tit, show a little skin.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, they had to trade Clarice, so they trade something.
They said they trade Clarice just for the blankets.
Yeah. I don't know. They said they're going straight, they're going clean, so it wasn't robbery, and they did have a ticket to show. So they did buy a ticket with something.
They probably kept their $200 that they gave to the bank.
Oh, they gave the receipt.
I mean, they just escaped from prison.
Maybe they found it in the dressing room in the back. Some loose change. It was in the dress.
But then that's stealing.
But then that is stealing.
I'm still sitting on whether, I don't know if them quote unquote stealing blankets is enough to warrant a war party.
It's not.
Okay,
well, maybe if they literally stole them, but because the donkey ran away, I would say no.
Yeah.
Because then that's their responsibility.
Yeah. They're the ones who let Clarice go. That's on them.
Yeah.
Well, if that's everything everyone has to say on Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again, that's Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again.
All right. Yeah.
We'll go into summaries and ratings. And I'd like to start with Sinister, because Sinister said in the last one that he wanted to see more Theodore and Amos.
Yeah, I did. And now I don't. Yeah, not super. I mean, it was a movie, and I watched it. Probably don't need to see it again. I still think Amos and Theodore were some of my favorite parts, but those were pretty watered down in this version. So
oversaturated.
Yeah, No, I mean it was just more of the same but less good, which is part of the problem. But yeah, the first half is somewhat okay, and then second half is just a really quick downhill slope to not very good. Yeah, I mean, Don Knotts did a good job. Tim Conway did a good job. Tim Matheson did a good job playing Jeff. I played McCoy, did a good job.
Most of the actors did a decent job.
Yeah, most of the actors, I think a lot of the blame is going to go on the source material for not being very strong. If I'm gonna critique any performances, I think most of them is in the root of cause of the script wasn't that good. So it's really hard to elevate that, even if you're good at what you're doing. Probably the blind lady was probably the worst. I don't know. That was a odd choice. Odd choice in the way to film it, not a choice in the way to present it. That was very strange. Like the Marshal, I love that actor. He's very funny, and this was a different kind of role than I'm used to seeing him in, so that was also interesting. It definitely became a punchline a little bit quicker than I'd like, but that's the way the cookie crumbles in comedies, and especially live action Disney stuff. I don't know if there's anything else. Yeah, I think I'm going to give this a 3.
Okie doke. 1 point down from the last one. Let's go with Crimson next.
All right. As I've probably figured out, I didn't really care for this movie that much. It kind of reminded me of Get Smart's spin-off movie they did. Get Smart, Bruce and Lloyd, Out of Control.
God, I forgot about that spin-off movie.
Yeah, where it follows the two nerds, the tech guys that make the equipment.
Why did you make me remember that?
There you go. Still bring that up though. I still enjoyed that one more than this. Just a spin-off of the supposed comedy characters. Good for some. I mean, there was a couple things funny in this. I won't say there was no humor in this for me. But overall, it did not get me in the humor department, which is kind of what this movie's all about. It's supposed to be about the humor. Certainly not about the story, because we talked about how bad that was. Even though they did try to balance, in their own little way, the story between Apple Dumpling Gang and then whatever the military stuff. Morally. So I will give this a subjective 3.5. I had to bounce between 3 and 3.5 because I know I gave Dominion a 3. I was just debating if I enjoyed this more or the same. Oh, that's like the benchmark for bad movies.
That's fair.
And Crimson, I almost have something very similar to say when it comes to me.
Yeah. When it comes to objective here, I'll list out some good points that this had. Costumes were pretty decent, fairly close to being accurate, as Ryder pointed out. Weren't too bad. The explosions, the practical effects were good. The crane was good. The scenes showing the crane were good. It certainly wasn't the whitewater rafting on the fire carriage in the first one. Good on that. Let's see, anything else good? The set design was good of the fort and the interior of the buildings. That's pretty much it. Anything else? Not great. Even my favorite character, the Marshal, I feel like he was pretty well butchered through this, even though he was the funniest aspect for me. Had this whole persona of being this fast gunner, really good, professional Marshal, especially with that introduction with the bar fight. And he just turns into a joke really quick. Like Sinister say, got turned into a joke real fast. And I think way over the top, he never tried really killing them seriously because every time he pulled the triggers, the bullets were going all over the place, nowhere near them. Yosemite Sam, that's his name, right? Pretty much him just blasting.
Yeah. The only point in favor of him being able to do that is the fact that his hands were shot at the very beginning of the film. So his aim is now.
That, it looked like the guns got shot, not his hands, which is confusing.
Yeah, I agree. It's just.
Yeah, we brought up the point of why the body got delivered by the undercover agents. The Reed relationship, or Captain, whatever you want to call him, with Millie was atrocious. Like I said, I think it's one of the worst relationships I've seen on screen. Didn't feel natural at all. I didn't feel chemistry at all, which is more kind of subjective leaning, but I'm throwing it out there anyways. The how dumb they made Theodore and Amos. Even though I feel like Theodore wasn't too bad overall, he was inconsistent on how dumb he was. Amos, I think he was pretty darn similar to the first one, but you guys say otherwise, so I don't really know how to put that on the objective scale there.
No, I said Theodore was the same. Amos was definitely dumber.
Yeah, well, same. Yeah. Did I say the other way around?
You said yes. Yeah, Amos.
Amos, I think, is the same. You guys say dumber, yeah. So I don't really know how to factor that into my objective scale. Well, so let's leave Amos in a mystery spot, but the way they both did dumb actions within the fort to destroy it was way over the top. The way the military handled them within the fort, I don't think would make sense. The rope swing into the bank doesn't really work. It's a sacrifice for the comedy, which is fine, I suppose. The magic donkey who tracks them everywhere and just, as mentioned, is just a MacGuffin and a really heavy-handed one that gets annoying. Turned up sinister pretty quickly, you said, right?
Yeah.
The Native Americans' motives for the climax there were very weak. Could have easily come up with something better. Don't know why Millie's on the train. It's kind of... It's just a mess, the finale's in. It's a mess. So it's really hard. I'd give it a 3.5 with the Amos thing, but since I'm not 100% if it's objective, I'll give it a 4. So I'll leave it at a 4.
All right. Let's go with... You know what? We'll save writer for the last. I'll go next. I'll start with objective. So the first Apple Dumpling game I gave a 5. For this one, I think it's just worse off in pretty much every single department from the first one. I think the editing, and the things are on par, is the editing, the acting. I think the cinematography is pretty on par. There's nothing really like out there or weird. But the writing, I think, is way worse for both plot, characters, jokes. There was like no jokes I thought were really standouts in this. I think the A and B plot, not glued together at all. It was very loose, and it got to the point where it really affected the pacing as well, I think, of the film. It felt like a very fast movie for how much they had in it, that they should have overlapped in some subjects, I would say. I don't know how they would exactly go about it, but I think some things could have been overlapped to make it flow better and more of a connection of A and B plot, especially in transitional pieces. I think the lighting, there's natural lighting and there's some artificial spotlight stuff as well. So that's kind of on par. I think the costumes were fine. They all fit. I think the sets were fine. They looked okay. But I think the main thing this lacks from the first one, which might be hard to come across, is just this Disney magic feel. Like, I guess the family feel of a family movie. The first one feels like that family feel, and it might just be because of the kids. But this one did not have that at all. It was very just like, here's these two characters people like from the first one with a little more story, and it's so objectively I give it a 4. I think if the film was filmed worse, it could be lower, but it's not as good. Subjectively, I had to look at previous scores I gave stuff. So
anything moving?
No, but it helped me decide what this one was. So I enjoy it more than Chippendale Rescue Rangers, which I gave a 3. Certainly more than Mars Needs Moms, which was a 2. But I think I enjoy it pretty much just as much as the same level as Left Behind. So subjectively, I give it a 3.5. And lastly, we go to writer.
Yeah. All right. I'll start with my subjective because I always seem to do that. I was contemplating getting a drink about 10 minutes into the film just because I felt booze would make me enjoy it more. I didn't, unfortunately, and I think that was a poor choice on my part. Yeah, I think I enjoyed the first one because it had a bit of charm. This one, for me, lacked all the charm the first one had. I didn't have much fun. I don't expect to be rewatching this ever. I also had to look at previous scores as well, and some things will be moving in recap. Because I think this is a subjective 2.5 for me. But yeah, I'll have to double check. This score might change as well, but because I feel the need to compare with other things still. But I'm comfortable with that for now. Objective, I'm not sure where things are in space and time. In the sense that I don't know where everything is geographically. I don't know how much time went by. I don't know if they were in the military for 2 days or if they were in the military for a week. I don't know how Clarice survived her teleportation journeys. So that's one of the opening gangrenous wounds with regards to the world building. I don't know where things are. I don't know, the importance of where things are. The only thing that I can say with certainty that I know where it is the Martha's cabin in conjunction with, apparently a neighbor who was willing to help Millie. The plot's a disaster. Everything is contrived, which can work sometimes in a comedy, but not to this extent. Everything relies usually on a MacGuffin, whether that be a character or an object. And not to say that a character's choices, it's a character's bumbling actions, which again can work, but man, was it really over the top for this. I would say the comedy aspect to the writing is also to a degree not as good as quality in the first one. I think there are some jokes that worked in that I don't think I laughed a single time, but I could at least understand what work went into the joke. But again, it's less than the first one. Romantic subplot, terrible, horrible. I'll just leave Crimson's citation notes here. Because I pretty much agree with what he said on that. We kind of went over that in depth as well. I think Theodore and Amos, it's always difficult when you're taking comedic side characters and they're suddenly getting their own film, and it's hard to give them something meaningful. My example of doing something somewhat meaningful with comedic side characters would probably be the Penguins from Madagascar. They're the ones that got a bunch of crazy spin-offs, whether it be TV shows, their own movie, that sort of thing, and they all work to a degree.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And I don't think this works. And I think it has something to do with I think it has more to do with the writing than it does with the actors, because I think the actors do a great job portraying Theodore Amos, and that goes across the board. But man, the material they're working with is just not good enough to allow them to elevate the comedy. I think the only time I let out a huff, which is the closest they got to me for laughter, which was the swinging with the money bags joke. But we already discussed the objective problem with that. It was definitely something that was sacrificed for the joke. And yeah, and the plot, like I said, is just, it's crazy how things happen. The Indians showing up at the end, ridiculous. And I guess this leads to character, more or less. Theodore and Amos, which was as I was already touched on, they feel out of character to me. Theodore feels dumbed down, but I can't really fully tell because the first movie really, really isolates them to this one specific town. Here we see them interacting with the world. The issue is I have no idea how they made it this far in life at all, with how stupid that they've made both characters now. It's impressive that they got this far. Like, I'm impressed they could tie their shoes in the morning, kind of thing, with the level of intelligence that they're now operating with. And that's the thing when you're writing stupid characters, they have to be believably stupid, usually, unless, you're doing something like a Looney Tunes cartoon, which, it can work in live action, it's just much harder. And I don't think it works here. I think Phillips, despite his creepy romantic intentions with Millie, it probably ended up being one of my favorite characters along with the commandant of the fort. But that's because they provide a counterbalance to the constant comedy that's with Theodore and Amos. And that has nothing to do with how they're written. Because I think if I'm going to pick the most consistent character, it'd probably be the commandant. His hands are tied with what he can do. And he says that he's doing everything he can in order to stop the robberies. But we don't really hear anything or see anything that comes of that outside of him vaguely giving orders. And then Millie and Captain Phillips have, I guess there's a lot of missteps with their characters, but I think I like them in concept. But again, you don't get points for concept, you get points for execution. I think objectively, I am at a 3.
Wow. So, one of our lower films reviewed.
Yep.
This would have fit in real nicely with our real low season.
Wow.
It does kind of match up.
It does kind of match up, yeah.
Can't average out to a 7.
Yeah.
It's true.
So we got wins and losses, and we got thoughts on the whole topic as well. So thank you for listening to this episode of Cheap Seat Critics Podcast over the Apple Dumpling Gang. Rides again. Ryder, unless anyone has anything else, you can go off with the send-offs.
Yeah. You all good?
Nope.
All right. Well then, audience, thank you for listening, whether it be Anchor, Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Castbox, and Samsung. Wow, I butchered that. And, thank you for, and if you happen to be on the YouTube side of things, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. As always, I have been a Geeky Writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
I'm a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo!